Minded about it. Su Xiaoxiao said, what should we do next? What answer are you going to give them in 3 days? Sima Yu sneered, there's no need for 3 days, if they don't change their mind before tomorrow night, then we don't have to have qualms about anything. Let's just go back for now. They waited from morning to night. No one from the Xianqiu clan came, but they noticed that there were many strong people around them. Han Miao Shuang was very angry. Were they trying to keep watch on and imprison them? Little senior sister, I heard that Xianqiu he was locked up by his father. Han Miao Shuang just came back from a walk and told Sima Yu. Xianqiu he was still inside when they left the hall. The Scarlet Bees told them that he, who was always calm, argued with the clan because of her. Sima Yu's face sunk, it seems like they don't intend to fulfill their promise. Then we shall just do it, there's no need to wait till tomorrow. Sure. That very night, Sima Yu and the 3 of them disappeared from the house. No one outside knew anything about it. Sima Yu and the rest were among the mountains when they got out. Is this their treasury pavilion? Han Miao Shuang looked at the surrounding in disbelief. This isn't a treasury pavilion. But, it is where divine medicine is. Sima Yu said. The divine medicine is here? Sima Yu nodded, big brother he brought me here before. He pointed out the direction of divine medicine to me. Follow me. She brought them to the foot of a mountain and went into a cave. There, they saw a stone door not far away and there were 3 keyholes on it. Little junior sister, are you sure the divine medicine is here? Su Xiaoxiao hesitated, why is there no one guarding it if it is the clan's divine medicine? Shouldn't there be a strong ancestor or someone powerful keeping a watch? They are overconfident. Sima Yu wasn't surprised, Xianqiu clan originally lived in a little realm specially set up, so no one would be able to come here without any Xianqiu member leading them. And now, there are only a few of us who are outsiders in the clan. In their eyes, our power is no different from that of a crushed ant. The most important thing was that no one in the Xianqiu clan knew where the divine medicine was. They all thought it was in the treasury pavilion. Jiang Junxian took a look at the door, he turned his head around and said, I'm afraid we will need to take the keys. This door can't be opened with our strengths. Senior brother, let me. Sima Yu walked over and took out 3 keys and slotted it in accordingly. Little junior sister, how did you get the keys? Han Miao Shuang remembered something after she questioned, was this the thing that Xianqiu he gave you in the day? When they met in the morning, Sima Yu was in front of 3 of them, so they knew Xianqiu he gave her something but they didn't expect that it would be the keys. I didn't expect that he would come to this. Crack. Followed by a crisp sound along with her sigh, the stone door was pushed open on both sides, revealing a dark cave. Sima Yu took out 2 bright pearls and the cave was immediately lit up. The cave wasn't big, it was almost the same size as a room. They felt a barrier when they got in. This spirit barrier must be set up by powerful men, I'm afraid that the Xianqiu clan will come here before we manage to break in. No wonder there's nobody keeping watch, how can anyone break through such a spirit barrier? Xianqiu clan has an attainment on spirit barrier and is the rank 1 among all the hidden families, it's not rare that they could fix up a spirit barrier like that. Jiang Junxian laughed boundlessly, it's a pity that they trust this spirit barrier too much. Other than little junior sister, no one can ignore spirit barriers, right? Han Miao Shuang laughed heartily as well, little junior sister, quickly go in and get the divine medicine. Sima Yu summoned Little Roar and went into the spirit barrier after fusing with him and headed into the cave. She came to the stone platform and looked passionately at the divine medicine that grew in the cracks of stone. She finally could help her father reconstruct his vital energy after so many years. She plucked the divine medicine excitedly and kept it in the jade bottle. As she wanted to move forward, she heard something and stopped moving. What is it? The bees heard from them that people will find out once the divine medicine leaves the spirit barrier. Sima Yu continued, to avoid trouble, it's better to give the pill to father. With those bastards' power, it would only take a breath for them to get here if they found out that the divine medicine was missing, so they couldn't ask for it if she used the divine medicine first. Sima Lu Xian came out from the spirit pagoda when she used her thoughts. Father, this is fire rebirth, this is phoenix nirvana, these are the pills I refined to protect your health. Take these first. Sima Yu handed the pills to him. Sima Lu Xian didn't want to tell her not to take risks when he saw her eyes shining. He took those pills and it took effect half an hour later before Sima Yu passed him the divine medicine. Father, this will be hard to go through, you must bear with it. Sima Lu Xian fell on the floor and rolled in pain right after Sima Yu spoke. It was unbearable. Father. Sima Yu rushed to him and held Sima Lu Xian and inserted spiritual energy into his body to clear the medicine. Let me. Crimson Flame appeared beside her, Qing Yi, little 7 and I will take good care of him. Sima Yu felt it too. The Xianqiu clan got the information when Sima Lu Xian took the pills, and there was a group of people outside the cave at this point of time. She could feel their dense killing intention even when they were separated by a thick and heavy stone door. Previous chapter. Junior sister, what should we do now? Su Xiaoxiao looked at Sima Yu. If she told them to go out now, they would immediately help her to stall for time. Of those 3 keys, I see that 2 of them are relatively new while one of them is rather old. I'm thinking that they probably don't have all the keys now. You're saying that it can stall for time? Hopefully. She called Thousand Resonance out to turn into her image as she entered the spirit pagoda. Sima Yu arrived inside the spirit pagoda where Sima Lu Xian sat inside the soul pond. She watched as the soul fluid continued to enter her father's body and she was rather worried. Little spirit appeared beside her, saying, don't worry. Crimson Flame said that the soul fluid can neutralize 2 of the effects of the medicinal effects, and the 3 types happen to be complementary. If Little 7 and Ching Yi do this, will it have an adverse impact on them? There will definitely be an impact, but since they are willing to help you, you should just accept it. I just feel like I've been troubling Ching Yi a lot recently without having helped him. I feel a little bad. Little Spirit knew that she was thinking and smiled. Ching Yi is not a person who accedes to every request. He's helping you because he has acknowledged you and feels that you are worth his help. You feel like you have never helped him, but to him, you rescued Little 7 and love Little 7. You have also never made use of Little 7 before. To him, this is enough. Sima you never thought that Little Spirit would say something like that and looked at him a little strangely. After all, I've lived here for so long. How could I not know how he thinks? Little Spirit rolled his eyes at her. Relax, with the 3 of them around, your father will definitely pull through. You should focus on settling the issue outside. I got it. Seeing how Sima Lu Xian was now, she knew that he would be fine. However, the situation outside was still rather stable, so she stayed in the spirit pagoda a little longer. Outside the cave, more and more experts of the Xian Qiu clan started to gather. Patriarch, what's going on? What has happened to the divine medicine? Patriarch? Xian Qiu Fuxi's expression was dark beyond belief. At this time, the men that he had sent to check on the situation said, Patriarch, Sima Yu and the other 3 are not in their houses. What? The one inside is Sima Yu? How did she enter? It is not important right now how she entered. The most important thing right now is that we cannot allow the divine medicine to fall into her hands. It's already too late. A white-haired elder said, the divine medicine has already been removed and taken out of the barrier. She dares to steal the divine medicine of our secret clan? We'll kill her. That's right. The moment Xian Qiuji came, he heard them say these things and he was shocked. He stepped forward. Patriarch, Sima Yu is the contracted master of the divine vermilion bird. If we kill her, I'm afraid that the bird clans will take revenge. Please reconsider. Xian Qiuji, do you want to shield her? This isn't about shielding her or not. If the bird clans insisted on taking revenge, would we be able to survive? Xian Qiuji asked. This is our territory. If we said that she died here, then she died here. If we said that she left, then she left. Without evidence, would they dare to attack our clan? All right. Xian Qiu Fuxi yelled at the 2 of them before saying to the others, let's break open the storehouse. Patriarch, if we forcefully break in, this place will be destroyed. The white-haired elder said, but if we do not do it, what do we do if she eats it? She will not eat it. Xian Qiuji said, she took the divine medicine to help heal her father's wounds. Who knows whether or not she's just using it as an excuse. She might be using this as a reason to deceive young master. Who knows what her true thoughts are? Xian Qiu Fuxi was a little hesitant. The treasure house was really one of the Xian Qiu clan's treasures. It had taken a lot of their lifeblood to construct it. However, if Sima Yu hid inside and refused to come out, who knew what would happen if they left the divine medicine in her hands? On one hand he had to consider the inheritance left by the ancestors, while he had his rage against Sima Yu on the other. Xian Qiu Fuxi felt like he had never been filled with so much hatred before. His raised fist was clenched tightly. If Sima Yu was in front of him, he would definitely not be able to control himself and would kill her. Patriarch. We cannot delay this. Elder, open the door. The white-haired elder saw that he could not change his mind, so he flew in front of everyone and attacked the mountain. Boom dash. The earth and mountain trembled. The mountain peak was leveled by his spirit power, leaving only half of the mountain. When the storage house was attacked, a barrier actually formed on its own, protecting the storage house. There's actually a barrier? When they saw the barrier, the expressions of the Xian Qiu clansmen were a sight to behold. They never thought that their own barrier would be used against them. Patriarch, this barrier is difficult to deal with. This barrier was set up by a past elder. Although he has already passed on, this barrier is not one we can move. Xian Qiu Fuxi said. Then what do we do? Bring young master over. Xian Qiu Fuxi instructed the people by his side. When those people heard Xian Qiuji, they thought about how he was able to enter barriers and their eyes shone. Young master was someone who was able to enter barriers. The person immediately went to invite Xian Qiuhi and quickly led him over. Young master, please break open this barrier. Xian Qiuhi glanced at that person and said lightly, I don't have any spirit energy now, I can't do anything. Young master, could Sima Yu have done it? Xian Qiuhi lightly looked at Xian Qiu Fuxi from the corner of his eyes without saying anything. Feed this to young master. Xian Qiu Fuxi took out a pill and instructed someone to feed it to Xian Qiuhi. Xian Qiuhi took the pill and the corner of his mouth curved into a smile. However, it was not the warm one like before. Instead, it was apathetic and more like a sneer. In the morning, you fed me poison that would temporarily stop me from being able to use any spirit power. Furthermore, in order to stop me from coming in here to take the divine medicine, you made it so the antidote would take a few hours to take effect. Doesn't it feel great now? This was the first time those from the Xian Qiu clan had heard Xian Qiuhi speak this way and they were stunned for a moment. Also, the patriarch had poisoned him? Why? Didn't he just regain his sight and ability to walk? Why would the patriarch poison him? Xian Qiu Fuxi wanted to berate him when he heard what he said, but he saw him eat the pill and sit down on the floor. He closed his eyes and rested, ignoring everyone else around him. Hence, Xian Qiu Fuxi had to swallow the rest of his words. Patriarch, how long do we have to wait? 4 hours. Xian Qiu Fuxi started waiting after he spoke. Since this happened, everyone else stopped as well and waited for Xian Qiuhi to regain his strength. Xian Qiuhi sat on the ground and dark dome. His eyes were unfocused. This was the very first time, in all the years that he had lived, that he felt that these people he had interacted with for hundreds of years were foreign to him. It could be that his thoughts had always been in alignment to the clan and had never diverged before. As such, he had never seen how selfish these people could be. It could be that the clan had always been this way, it was just that he couldn't see before, so he never really involved himself with matters of the clan and hence, never saw these types of scenes. In the past, he had always felt like the Northern Du clan was dirty, the Eastern Lai clan was selfish and the Ouyang clan was fake, while, although the Xianqiu clan was not the most powerful, they were the most authentic. Now, however, he didn't think much of them. If his situation never happened, if he was still blind, would he never have seen this side of them? He closed his eyes, but his expression was mournful. Inside the storehouse, Jiang Junxian and the others had been on alert after the attack. They thought of going out to stall for time, but they didn't think that they would stop attacking after a few hits. They stopped. Han Miao Shuang lifted up her head, not daring to believe it. There's a barrier outside. Thousand Resonance said. Barrier. A place like this should be protected by a barrier. Jiang Junxian said, most of them are used to keep outsiders out and protect the storehouse. Who would have thought that today, it would actually keep the Xianqiu clan locked outside? That falls in place nicely. I hope that this will be able to delay things and buy junior sister a bit more time. I hope that it will really delay things for a while. Time ticked by, and it didn't matter whether it was the people inside the storehouse or outside it. No matter how the people outside wished it, for hours passed by just like that. Have you recovered? Can we go in now? Xianqiu Fushi's voice suddenly sounded, and Xianqiu he smiled lightly when he heard it. He stood up from the ground. It was unknown why, but while his smile was the same as it used to be, everyone felt like it was somewhat different. However, they couldn't say for sure where the difference lay. Xianqiu he came to the outside of the stone door. As he passed by the barrier, he merely felt a bit of resistance, but it didn't stop him from entering at all. He looked at the 3 locks on the stone door and his eyes shone. Here, hurry and break the barrier. Xianqiu Fushi ordered. Father, this barrier was left behind by our ancestor. Do you really want to destroy it? Xianqiu he looked at his father who was outside. Just open it. Xianqiu Feishi insisted. Xianqiu he was still hesitant. If he opened the barrier, they would definitely break into the storehouse immediately. However, Sima Yu and the others were still inside. Could they stay inside forever? Here, hurry up. Young master, please act. That's right, young master, if the divine medicine disappears, it would be unfortunate for the clan. That's right, young master, you. Xianqiu he heard the various urgings and the smile on his face grew lighter. Kacha dash. Just as he was hesitating, the door behind him opened. Sima Yu came out from there alone. Big brother he. Yu, why did you come out? Might as well. Sima Yu walked out and smiled at Xianqiu he, saying rather helplessly, we still had to end up at this stage. Yu. Big brother he, I will remember this friendship of yours in my heart. However, we have already agreed earlier that you all would give me this divine medicine after I treat you. That is why, with regards to this, I will not yield. However, on account of our friendship, if they do not act against me, I will not take their lives. Ha ha ha, what a brazen tone. The others also looked like they had heard the biggest joke. It's been a few tens of thousands of years since someone has something like this, right? Hehe, I never thought that we would be able to hear these kinds of words today. Xianqiu he saw how confident Sima Yu was and felt like it was rather funny as well, but the smile on his face became slightly more genuine. Sima Yu didn't explain, though. She walked forward step by step. With every step, the aura on her body changed. By the time she walked to the exit, her aura had completely changed. When those outside saw her change, they were incredibly surprised. You are. Sima Yu smiled lightly at them. Patriarch Xianqiu, I already said so earlier that, on Big Brother he's account, if you let me leave, I will not do something that will cause you to regret. Xianqiu Fushi's expression was complex as he watched Sima Yu. I really never thought that you would actually belong to the divine clan. There are many unexpected things that happen in life, Patriarch Xianqiu, what do you think? After falling out, she couldn't even call him uncle anymore. Where's the divine medicine? The white-robed elder asked. I've already used it. Sima Yu said. Impossible. Didn't you say that the divine medicine was to be used to cure your father? How could you have used it? Why can't I? I've let my father use the divine medicine. How is that possible? Your father isn't around, you brought your father? That's right. Sima Yu smiled, the divine medicine is already in my father's body, you can't do anything even if you wanted to. That's not right, Patriarch. She is from the Sima clan. Her father is Sima Lu Xian and not from the divine clan. Patriarch, don't be fooled. Xianqiu Rong cried out. After he called out, everyone woke up from their shock. They were all aware of her identity. How could she suddenly have become a member of the divine clan? She must have used a way to deceive everyone and allow herself to be filled with the aura of the divine clan. Patriarch, no matter what method she used, she's definitely not a member of the divine clan. Perhaps, she might just have some relationship with the divine clan. Even if we kill her here, the divine clan will not know. Xianqiu Fushi regarded Sima Yu silently. He thought to be able to discern something from her, but her expression was insipid and he couldn't obtain any clue. Sima Yu chuckled softly and the little door to the Black Lotus little realm appeared in her palm with a single thought. Patriarch Xianqiu, so tell me, are you giving in today or not? Sima Yu asked. Xianqiu Fushi considered Sima Yu's words and measured his gains and losses. After pondering over it, he said, friend, we have already said that the divine medicine is only to be used on our clansmen. Right now, you have used the divine medicine. If you marry here, we will not pursue this matter. Ha! Sima Yu sneered and said, I already said that I will not pursue this matter on Big Brother He's behalf, but this doesn't mean that I'll let you strut about and pretend to be anything good. You want me to join a clan like yours that goes back on their word? You're dreaming. Friend, although you have a relationship with the divine clan, you are not their clansman. Even if we kill you, nobody will know. This condition that we are offering you is already our best compromise. Xianqiu Fushi threatened. Patriarch Xianqiu, there is something you probably don't know. I went to the divine clan before this and they know that I have come here. If I disappear here, will they let you off? Even if you said that I left, they would not believe you. Also, I never said that I was the only divine clansman here. After speaking, she inserted some spirit power into her little door. The Black Lotus little realm opened and Feng Xiang led her people out of the little realm, coming to stand behind Sima Yu. Xianqiu Fushi, you are really bold, you even dare to have murderous intent towards the young miss of our Feng clan. Xianqiu Fushi naturally recognized Feng Xiang. When they had dealings with the Feng clan before, Feng Xiang was the one they had constantly interacted with. He naturally knew her position in the Feng clan. He didn't think that Sima Yu would actually bring Feng Xiang out. Xianqiu he knew of the Feng clan as well. When he saw them, his expression was complicated. On one hand, Sima Yu would definitely be able to walk out of here safely. On the other hand, since she had brought the Feng clansman with her, this proved that she had never trusted in the Feng clan to begin with, and she didn't trust in him. Big brother this has nothing to do with my trust in you. I'm just used to taking preventative measures. Sima Yu saw the pain in his eyes and said, if I didn't believe in you, I wouldn't have waited until you. But I've let you down. Xianqiu he smiled bitterly. No, you didn't let me down. On the other hand, I'm glad that you have let me know I didn't acknowledge the wrong person. Young miss, should we exterminate them? Feng Xiang asked. Sima Yu looked at Xianqiu he before turning to regard the people around them. She sighed, if they are willing to let us go, then let's forget it. Young miss, you're going to let it go just like that? Feng Xiang looked at Sima Yu with puzzlement. Based on what she understood of her, Yu was not a person who would just let others bully her. Was she actually going to let things go just like that? Sima Yu didn't answer her. Instead, she turned to Xianqiu Fushi and asked, Patriarch Xianqiu, what do you say? What did he have to say? What else could he say? He had never been so useless before. It was at this moment that a silhouette appeared in front of Xianqiu Fushi. The moment he appeared, the Xianqiu clan bowed towards him and respectfully addressed him as ancestor. The ancestor of the Xianqiu clan lightly glanced at Xianqiu Fushi and he felt like his whole body had been suppressed. Ancestor. Xianqiu Fushi knew that the elder was infuriated. You have completely disgraced the Xianqiu clan. Since you have already forgotten the meaning of integrity and honor, I believe that we should have a new patriarch. The ancestor scolded them. Ancestor, quell your anger. The Xianqiu clansman knelt down, terrified by what he said. The Xianqiu ancestor did not care about them as he cupped his fists in salute to Sima Yu, saying, Young friend Yu, the Xianqiu clan was in the wrong for this matter, please do not be angered. The divine medicine is rightfully yours, also, we will give you compensatory gifts in apology. Sima Yu pursed her lips. The moment he arrived, he had berated Xianqiu Fushi before turning around to apologize to her. It was clear that he didn't want her to pursue this matter. Although he apologized, his sincerity was lacking. She couldn't be bothered with his ramblings. Apart from Xianqiu she cared not for a single person in the Xianqiu clan. So you're saying that you will not pursue this matter? So we can leave? As long as you don't pursue this matter. Ancestor Xianqiu said. Aunt Xiang, let's go. Sima Yu didn't want to remain here at all. Wait. Ancestor Xianqiu spoke out to stop her. You must be tired from the long night, why don't you head back first and rest? Why don't you leave after we have prepared the compensatory gifts? Forget about the compensatory gifts. Sima Yu sighed, you don't have to prepare those things either. In any case, we can no longer be friends. It would disgust me instead if I accepted them. Young friend Yu, look, isn't it better to squash an enmity than keep it alive? You and he are friends, and we have already admitted our wrongs. Could you not let this matter go? I can't. Sima Yu rejected their good intentions. I can forget about pursuing the matter today, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. If not for Aunt Feng and the others, I'm afraid that it would have been a completely different story. I let you go today completely on account of Big Brother Feng. As for everything else, don't ask for too much. Aunt Feng, let's go. If she accepted their things today, that would indicate that she did not hold this matter to heart and that the two clans would be able to continue being friends. It was a pity that she didn't have that good of a heart. Ancestor Xianqiu looked at Xianqiu hoping that he would say something. However, Xianqiu lowered his head, ignoring it. Feng Xiang directly cut a portal through space and took Sima Yu and the others away. They left the Xianqiu clansmen behind with the wasted land. Ancestor Xianqiu initially wanted to call out to them, but when he saw Feng Xiang directly cut a portal through space, he could only watch blankly as he left. This was the space that the first ancestor of the Xianqiu clan had carved out. It was different from outside, but she actually managed to tear it open just like that. The divine clan, they were truly powerful. The golden sunlight lowered on them. It was obviously the color of hope, but now, the Xianqiu clansmen felt like they had fallen into an ice house. Ancestor. There was someone who could no longer bear the strange silence and called out. Ancestor Xianqiu turned around and looked at the ground of people kneeling on the ground and he said helplessly, open the family hall and evoke the family laws. Take Xianqiu Fushi there. The family hall contained the memorial tablets of their ancestors, and some of the ancestors would leave behind some divine senses in there. If nothing major happened, they wouldn't open the family hall. They thought about how he had initially spoken about changing the patriarch, and everyone was flustered. The patriarch had yet to die, but he was going to replace him. This was something that had never happened before. Ancestor, the patriarch did it for the interests of the clan, please reconsider. Ancestor, please reconsider. For the interests of the clan? If he was protecting the clan's interests, he shouldn't have gone against Sima Yu. Take him down. Ancestor Xian Qiu icily ordered. A few guards appeared from nowhere and took Xian Qiu Fushi to the family hall. Sima Yu was the contracted master of the divine vermilion bird, and she had the right to order about 100 birds, and that was without talking about the various powers backing her. If Xian Qiu Fushi was truly thinking for the sake of the clan, he would not have offended her. In the past, it was not like these kinds of things had never happened before, but the other party was just anybody that they could suppress. If they reneged, then so be it. However, was Sima Yu someone like that? He was obviously not using his brain. Short-sighted. And right now, it was useless no matter what they said. As for what would happen to the Xian Qiu clan in the future, Sima Yu did not care for it at all. She was afraid that she would never interact with the Xian Qiu clan ever again. After leaving the Xian Qiu clan, Sima Yu got Feng Xiang to stop. Aunt Xiang, let's just stop here. Sima Yu looked at Feng Xiang. I really have to thank you for today. Young Miss issues are our issues, there is no need for thanks. Feng Xiang said with a smile. She really liked Sima Yu's personality. She was not as petty as those other young misses. She had already received the honorable master's recognition, but she was as mild as before. Now that I have already obtained the divine medicine, I believe that the Xian Qiu clansmen will no longer chase after me. I know that you, Aunt Feng, are usually very busy. I'm already fine here, if you want to return to the Feng clan. Young miss, before we left the Feng clan, the honorable master told us that we are to follow you from now on. Feng Xiang said with a smile, follow me from now on. Not just this time. Sima Yu's mouth fell open in shock. That's right. Honorable master said that we are constantly on the move outside and are more acquainted with the people here. This face of mine is also the identity of the Feng clan, so people will recognize me when I go out. This will avoid situations where the blind will not be able to recognize young miss, and we will also be able to protect you in the meantime. But I'm not that used to having many people with me. Sima Yu said, there are so many of you. If you follow me, wouldn't I have a whole group of people by my side all the time? That's no problem. The environment in your little realm is pretty good, and very suitable for cultivating. We usually have our own things that we need to do, and have not really had the opportunity to rest and cultivate. We can use this opportunity to do so. Feng Xiang and the others were rather fond of the environment in her little realm. Alright then. You guys can cultivate inside. If anything happens, I will notify you all. Sima Yu opened her little realm and let them enter. Then, she took a look around her. Nobody was around, so she entered her spirit pagoda with a flash. Little Seven, Crimson Flame and the others did not remain beside the soul pond. Little Spirit had shifted Sima Lu Xian into the house. After a lot of time had passed, his situation had already stabilized. When Sima Yu entered the house, he opened his eyes to take a look before closing them again. The extreme pain made him feel as if even staying conscious was a luxury. Father, let me take your pulse. She walked over and took his hand. The scorching temperature was as if he was roasting his hand in the middle of a fire. She acutely sensed the condition of his body. It was just as Little Spirit had said. The medicinal effects of the soul fluid combined with the fire rebirth and phoenix nirvana along with Little Seven and Qing Yi's combined strength as protection, was rebuilding every single inch of his medians and expanding it. It probably wouldn't affect his body. His meridians were not completely reconstructed yet. However, he had already controlled the medicinal effects of the divine medicine. He was recovering bit by bit. Once he had finished recovering, he would have recovered all his strength. Sima Yu reached into his sea of consciousness. It was not dull and wilted like it used to be. The entire place was filled with color, and his parched dantian was finally moving. Although there were a few parts that she couldn't check, she almost couldn't stop her tears from flowing. Father, you are recovering well. Eat these pills, it will ease some of your pain. She took out some pills and fed them pill by pill to Sima Lu Xian. It was a good thing that the pills dissolved in his mouth. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the energy to swallow them. Hearing the movement outside the door, she rose up and went out. She saw Su Xiao and the others waiting outside. Junior sister, is your father fine? Han Miao Shuang asked. He's in the midst of recovery. Every single part of his meridians need to be remade. That's good. Han Miao Shuang was happy for her. She finally settled another big issue that was weighing on her heart. In the past, when she heard of what she wanted to do, she felt tired just listening to her. Now that it was a piece of cake, she could relax a bit. Junior sister, what do you plan to do with the Xian Qiu clan? Jiang Jun Xian asked. Back in the storehouse, just as those people were forcing Xian Qiu He to open the barrier, Sima Yu had come out from the spirit pagoda. She not only kept 1,000 resonants in her spirit pagoda, but kept the 3 of them as well. In order to avoid disturbing Crimson Flame and the others, Little Spirit stopped the transmission of what was happening outside. That was why Jiang Jun Xian and the others were not clear about how she managed to leave the Xian Qiu clan. Sima Yu told them what happened and also told them about the Feng clan. When they heard it, the 3 of them were absolutely stunned. I didn't think that there would be the divine clan above the secret clans. If we knew about their identities from the start, we wouldn't have needed to worry for you. Han Miao Shuang forcefully patted Sima Yu's shoulders, expressing how she felt. Hee hee. Sima Yu accepted those 2 slaps. In any case, her body was fine and this didn't hurt. Since we have already left the Xianqiu clan, let's go out. I have yet to take a good look at the inner regions. Su Xiaoxiao said, right, junior sister, are you going to look for master next? She had initially said that, once she obtained the divine medicine and treated Sima Lu Xian's injuries, they would look for Su Jin. That was why they asked. We're going to look for master. However, I have to head back to the clan first. The issue with the Qi spirits worries me a little. I wonder if great-grandfather and the others went back obediently. Sima Yu sighed, also, if we want to look for master and the rest, we can't do it blindly. Then let's return first. Han Miao Shuang initially thought that Sima Yu would wait for Sima Lu Xian to recover completely before moving. She didn't think that she would immediately take them all out of the spirit pagoda and look for a city with a spatial ship and take it back to the Sima clan. 3 months later, Sima Yu's group returned to the Sima clan. By this time, Sima Lu Xian's body had already recovered completely. Before she arrived back at the clan, she took him out. Everyone who was there could see that he was no longer the same. Initially, although he looked calm, his eyes always contained traces of pain and hurt. Right now, he was like a rusted blade that had recovered the sharpness of the past. He even made them feel like he was superior. Hong Yingying saw their son who had recovered to his prior state and their eyes were wet with tears. They patted his back and were so excited that they couldn't speak. I just knew that Yu would definitely be able to cure you. Now we can see that she definitely didn't disappoint. Sima Lu Feng walked 2 rounds around Sima Lu Xian and said while beaming, no, you are actually even stronger than you were before. Or should I say, that you even advanced in rank. Previous chapter. Sima Lu Xian saw that Sima Lu Feng was looking at him with disbelief, so he stretched forth a hand and patted his shoulder, saying, you've been goofing off these few years. This was also him implicitly admitting to his advance in rank. Not only did he recover his strength, he also advanced by a level. This brat really treated her father well. Sima Lu Feng was jealous, and was wondering how great it would be if he also had such a filial child. At this moment, Sima Lu Feng, who had always been enthralled by cultivation, thought about having children for the very first time in his life. It's a pity that this old man can't get rid of this white hair. So what if it's white? When mother meets father later on, she'll be able to see the price you paid. Sima Yu said with a smile, also, I feel like father looks pretty good like this. Yu, will his current state affect his body in any way? It won't. Father's black hair roots were changed when he was in Ghost City. It won't impact him. Sima Yu said. That's good. Since you're back, you should stay in the house and properly cultivate. Sima Xiuqi said, don't do something as foolish as this anymore. Sima Yu wanted to say that it wasn't something foolish, but thinking about how he had disappeared and caused his parents and brothers to look for him for a few tens of years, he couldn't bring himself to say it. Sima Yu went forward and held onto Sima Xiuqi's arm and asked, Grandfather, how are things with the Qi spirits? I heard that many people died after we left, but one day, everything suddenly disappeared. It was as if it never occurred at all. Sima Xiuqi said, disappeared? Han Miao Shuang cried out with shock. That's right. The Qi spirits have disappeared and the cemetery is also empty. When everyone went in, all they saw were corpses. Although they didn't see it with their own eyes, they were able to picture what it looked like. It seems like they've all withdrawn. I wonder why they did this. Sima Yu was a little puzzled. There must be some secret that they can't tell anyone. As long as it doesn't affect us, we don't have to bother about it for the time being. Sima Yu said, Grandfather, I have something I wish to ask you. What is it? Do you know where the lost place is? Do you know anything about it? Lost place? Huang Yingying almost dropped the teacup in her hands. She looked at Sima Yu with shock, asking, why are you asking about that place? Sima Yu told them about how Su Jin and Go Lang had gone to the lost place to find a cure for her physique, then said, they've already been missing for a few years. Director Mao said that it's been a long time since they sent any news back. Although their life jades are still alright, my seniors and I are very worried for them, so we're going to look for them. When they heard that they had lost all contact with them for her sake, they swallowed the advice that they wanted to give her. Huang Yingying and Sima Lu Qi exchanged glances. They shared the same worry. Grandfather, you guys know about the lost place, don't you? Sima Yu understood it when she saw the way they were acting. Yes. That year, in order to look for Shimmer, we went to the lost place and were almost unable to make it back out. There are numerous experts there and danger lurks everywhere. If you must go, your grandfather and I must go with you. We also have to bring a group of people with us. Huang Yingying said. Sima Yu thought about it. If she didn't agree, they may not let her go. As such, she nodded and replied, if too many of us go, it will draw attention. If you must go, you have to stay in the little realm. That's no problem. As long as she took them with her, they would be able to help her at the crucial points. Grandfather, just what kind of place is the lost place? Why is it so mysterious? Sima Yu asked. The lost place is like Ghost City. It doesn't exist in the main continent. Sima Xiuqi piqued everyone's interest with a single sentence. Sima Yu was only puzzled for a moment before she accepted it. The world was so big. Since an existence like Ghost City existed, there would naturally be other areas like it. Grandpa Qi, why is that place called the Lost Place? Why is it so mysterious? I heard Director Mao say that you can only send news out from that place and you cannot send any news in. Han Miao Shuang asked with curiosity. The lost place is also a place where the divine clan used to live. Then, the divine clan fell and they took up less space. The lost place also became mysterious. Right now, all the people who live there more or less have relationships with the divine clan. Sima Xiao Qi explained. Divine clan? Junior sister, did you go to the lost place the last time? Divine clan? Yu, do you have a relationship with the divine clan? The Sima clansman looked at her with large eyes. I do. Sima Yu was shocked by their gazes and subconsciously drew closer to her father. But I didn't go to the lost place the last time. The Feng clan is the real descendant of the divine clan, and has a much higher standing than those who are just hanging on to them. The real divine clan? You know them? Junior sister not only knows them, but has a very good relationship with them. Really? Aunt Feng is the honorable master of the Feng clan. When I left Billion City last time, I went to the Feng clan to treat an old illness of Aunt Feng. So I can be considered to have received the acknowledgement of the Feng clan. Sima Yu sighed. Aunt Feng could be the only overlord in this world. What? Overlord? Is there really an overlord? Yu, you're not swindling us, right? The Sima clansmen were shocked. Did overlords still exist? Didn't they say that the heavenly law suppressed them? It had already been a few tens of thousands of years since an overlord appeared. Aunt Feng advanced in rank via a different method, and is not an overlord that has been acknowledged by the heavenly law. Sima Yu said. Although this is the case, it's still very powerful. Sima Lu Feng said with a sigh. Sima Xiao Qi said after he had regained his calm, since this is the case, when we go to the lost place, we should not face too much danger. Those people should have connections with the divine clan and should know about the Feng clan. Since you have been acknowledged by the honorable master of the Feng clan, they will not dare to do anything to you. That's not bad. Wherever we go, junior sister is our protective amulet. Han Miao Shuang laughed. Sima Yu was not that happy as she said with a sigh, I just hope that we'll be able to find master and the others smoothly. When do you plan to head out? Within the next few days. Sima Yu said, I've been rushing along recently and would like to properly rest for a while and prepare some things in order to avoid being flustered when we're there. Then I'll head out for a while. Sima Lu Xian said. Father, are you going to look for master? Sima Yu asked. Sima Lu Xian's body was suddenly a little unnatural as he said, I'm going to find him for something. Go ahead. Sima Yu blinked at him, not exposing his thoughts. When the two of them had met, master definitely taunted him quite a bit. Now that he had recovered his strength, he was probably going to show off in front of him. She never thought that her father would have such a childish side to him. Sima Lu Xian knew his daughter was laughing at him, but he wasn't embarrassed as Feng Zhixing was too arrogant the last time they'd met. At the same time, he admired his daughter so much. He would be jealous if he knew Yu cured him. He used his old ways and went to a shady shop. The shopkeeper had been there for over 100 years and he'd already known Sima Lu Xian. Master Lu Xian, what brings you here? Shopkeeper welcomed him. Pass a message to Feng Zhixing, Phoenix Mountain in 3 days. Sima Lu Xian said softly. Young master hasn't been in recently. I'm not sure if I can pass it to him in 3 days. The shopkeeper was in a difficult position, but he remembered that the young master had told them to inform him of anything from the Sima clan even if it was using the highest way of passing messages. Whether young master would come wasn't up to his control. Just let him know. Sima Lu Xian turned around and left after he spoke. The shopkeeper told the waiter something and went to the backyard. There were still 3 days before the appointed time and Sima Lu Xian wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he was shopping around in the city. He came here and looked around countless times. He was not as emotional as he was today. After walking around, he then walked towards the Phoenix Mountain leisurely. Phoenix Mountain wasn't a place where a phoenix resided. It had nothing related to phoenixes, not even the way it looked. No one knew who named that mountain. Sima Lu Xian walked to the bottom of a tree. Thinking that Feng Zhixing would not come here that quickly, he leaped on the tree and found a familiar branch and laid on it like how he did in the past. Smooth and silky silver hair. It looked like a white waterfall hanging in the mid-air, but it was hard to notice if it wasn't seen from the bottom, as the crown of the tree was dense. Feng Zhixing saw this familiar scene the moment he came here, except for silver hair that replaced what used to be crow-black. Sima Lu Xian opened his eyes right when he came here but he didn't move. In less than a second, Feng Zhixing flew to the branch that he used to like. With his back leaning against a trunk, one of his legs dangled with the other one folded casually. At least Sima Yu and Integral Moon Palace had never seen him like that. From the day I saw you, I never thought that you would be a useless man forever. But I didn't expect you'll get well this fast either. You've got a good daughter. Of course. Sima Yu is very thoughtful. You can't even imagine. Sima Lu Xian placed his hands behind his head, laughing as if he needed a spanking. Feng Zhixing made a hand gesture at him. Tell me, why did you ask me to come here? Don't tell me you asked me here just to show off your filial daughter. I'm busy. Nothing, just wanted to catch up. Sima Lu Xian said. Pfft, why would I believe you? I'll leave since you don't want to tell me, our catch-up is almost done anyway. Feng Zhixing didn't move although he said that. Sima Lu Xian sat up, took out 2 jars of wine and threw one to him. He opened his and took a sip. As he saw Feng Zhizing drink it, he said, "Aren't you afraid that I'll poison it?" "I don't think you're capable of poisoning me," Feng Zhixing said in disdain. "Why don't you try?" Sima Luxian didn't refute. Feng Zhixing didn't care about him. He took another sip from the wine jar and said, "It's good to keep watching your daughter, you can drink wine when you want to. It's a pity that the wine will be gone once it's finished, even though I'm her master. It's good enough that I can give it to you." I really didn't think that we would have a chance to sit here and have a drink. And the wine we are drinking was made by your daughter," Feng Zhixing said emotionally. "Indeed." Sima Luxian was reminiscing. "Are you fully recovered?" Feng Zhixing asked. Except for this gray hair. She won't abandon you." Both of them fell silent when they mentioned Yu Kuluo. After a while, Feng Zhixing placed his hand on his gray hair, looking despondent. "Integral Moon Palace members are very good at getting information. Do you know how to go to Ghost Realm other than by Ghost City?" Feng Zhixing almost choked on his wine. He looked at Sima Luxian and cried out, "You still want to go to the Ghost Realm? Kuluo is there, I have to find her." Sima Luxian was firm on his decision. He wanted to go to the Ghost Realm no matter what. Yu has been wanting to go to Ghost Realm to save her mother. I'm afraid she will do something silly. "Aren't you doing something silly too? What can you do in Ghost Realm given your power?" Although Feng Zhixing really liked Yu Kuluo and really wanted to see her, he kept a clear view on reality. Sima Luxian forced a bitter smile. It was right that Yu Kuluo was caught by the Ghost King. She would definitely be punished when she went back to her clan and he would have to face the whole Ghost clan if he went. Could he really find her by himself? But if he couldn't find her, it would be empty here. He held his chest with his right hand and felt the ache. Feng Zhixing sighed and said as he saw him this way, "I can help you to investigate, but you'll need to promise me one thing." "What is it?" "Bring me along if you're going." Feng Zhixing requested, "It doesn't matter if you're going alone, bring me and you. You want to come too?" Sima Luxian glanced at him. "I wanted to go back to the inner regions, but that kid Yu could hold up even the skies. She could hold up a whole sky and lead a trouble-free life in the inner regions. But I didn't expect that it would be this fast and that there would be nothing that I could do for her anymore. Also, I know her temperament. She won't change once she sets her mind on it. I'd rather go and take the risk with you guys instead of being worried here. Anyway, I'm almost done having enlightenment in my life. There's nothing to be reluctant about." Feng Zhixing explained. "It's better that you." Sima Luxian was emotional. He didn't finish his sentence but both of them knew what it meant. "I was talking about that child you're overthinking." Feng Zhixing's body was stiff and he took another sip of wine. But why did that crisp fragrance turn into bitterness? Sima Luxian looked at him but he didn't reply or deny it. Feng Zhixing had feelings for Yu Kuluo and he knew that, but he couldn't stop him. He was glad that the one that Kuluo liked was him. There was silence lingering around both of them. He thought about the other thing he was here for to break the awkwardness. "Do you have the map of the lost place?" "Yes, I do have it. Why? Do you want it?" "I need it now." "You're going to the lost place?" Feng Zhixing shot a glance at him. "Are you already restless when you just recovered?" "It's Yu who wants to go. That obedient disciple of mine almost flipped the hidden families earlier on. What is she up to now?" Previous chapter. Sima Luxian regretted looking for him after seeing his elated expression. Did this guy intend to steal his daughter away? But Feng Zhixing looked like he wouldn't give him the map if he didn't tell him what it was about. He knew this guy would definitely waste time with him. "I'll tell you what, since it's been long since we both sparred. Let's give it a try. If you win, I'll tell you what we're going to do. But if you lose, you'll have to give me the map. How about that?" Feng Zhixing shot him a glance and said in disdain, "With the power that you've just recovered? Don't forget that I've cultivated a decade more than you. So what? We still don't know who the victor will be." After speaking, Sima Luxian flew and attacked Feng Zhixing. Feng Zhixing pounced towards him as well. To protect their sentimental tree, both of them refrained from using spirit skills. As they fought, they flew further away. A few hours later, both of them were exhausted as they laid on top of the mountain. Both of them sustained injuries, but it wasn't serious even though they bled a little. "I didn't expect that you didn't only recover your strength but you advanced as well. I too want a precious daughter," Feng Zhixing said as he was catching his breath. "You made it sound like my daughter has ill-treated you." Sima Luxian spoke in grimace, "If you want to be like me, then make yourself useless first." "Forget it then." Feng Zhixing wouldn't want Sima Luxian to have a chance to beat him down. If he became useless, he would have ended himself. "Since it's a tie between us, you can tell me now. Yuer has a master, Su Jin, and a teacher named Guliang, do you know?" They're from the Imperial Academy, they're renowned in the continent." In addition, he knew because they were Sima Yu's masters. Su Jin and Guliang went to the lost place because of Yuer. They would send some news in the beginning, but they went missing. Yuer is worried for them, so she wanted to go to the lost place to have a look. Sima Luxian said. "This child, why does she always take everything upon herself? Is that lost place a nice place to go to? Does she even know what kind of people live there? You're her father, why do you let her be?" Feng Zhixing berated him as if he wasn't from the same generation. You're her master, you do it. Sima Lu Xian didn't believe that Feng Zhixing would be able to persuade his daughter. Feng Zhixing opened his mouth, but he didn't say that he would go. He sighed faintly and said, her character is more stubborn than her mother. Sima Lu Xian didn't reply. His daughter took after her mother's appearance, and even her character was 70% the same. As long as it was something that she wanted to do, she would do it no matter how hard it would be. He didn't speak, so Feng Zhixing continued, you can have the map, but I'll have to go as well. With you there, I can't rest assured. Sima Lu Xian never thought of stopping him, but the way he said it was very sarcastic. So, the both of them fought again, and the result was that one of them broke a few ribs and the other one broke an arm. With this, it was comparable to the times where Sima Lu Xian and Deja fought. In the past, Deja and him were unhappy with each other, but both of them were now reminiscing their friendships. Sima Yu sighed faintly when she saw the situation they were in when she came here. Father, master, the ages of you both added up are around 1,000 years old, right? Why do you guys still fight like children? She came over to check on both of their injuries. Sima Lu Xian and Feng Zhixing were shocked by Sima Yu who appeared out of thin air. There are 3 divine rank beasts and 2 scared beasts nearby, what will you guys do if they come here with you both in this condition? Sima Yu took out pills and gave it to both of them as she muttered. She didn't want to come out but these 2 guys weren't reliable at times. Those that we have friendships with, won't come out. Sima Lu Xian said unnaturally. I saw one of them coming towards here, this mountain top would be gone if I didn't release Crimson Flame's aura. Sima Yu whined. How could that be? Both of them cried out in unison. Those divine rank beasts would always stay in their own territory and wouldn't come here, why did they come here today? I think it's because Father's body might have the smell of the divine medicine. Sima Yu guessed, Father's body absorbed a lot of medicine but it hasn't fully dissipated yet, so this battle would release some aura of divine medicine. Spirit beasts' noses are more sensitive than humans. Both of them who were on the floor looked at each other with grudges. Oh right, Yu, why are you here? Feng Zhixing gave up on Sima Lu Xian and focused on Sima Yu instead. To train the spatial skill that I've learned not long ago. Sima Yu cooked up an excuse. She couldn't possibly have said that she came here because she was worried about both of them nipping at each other when they met. But they understood even if she didn't say it. She would bring them back to Sima clan when both of them recovered their spiritual energies. The pills she gave them were to restore their internal injuries, so the black eye and half-swollen face wouldn't be gone when they got home. The eyes of the Sima clansmen widened when they saw their swollen face and blackened eyes, looking as if they had seen a ghost. Those that were closer came to ask them if they'd gotten into trouble. Feng Zhixing and Sima Lu Xian put on a bitter smile. She was trying to punish both of them for always fighting and nipping at each other every time they met. Sima Yu knew that this was how they showed their affection, but she wouldn't want them being injured and didn't want it to happen often. Seeing her angry face, they'd learnt their lesson. They sighed again thinking that they wouldn't make her worry again. However, both of them were still unhappy with each other when their eyes met. In the past, they were highly talented and fought many times and even fought out a revolutionary friendship. It was only after they'd met Yukoluo that the revolutionary friendship was ruined by rivalry, and both of them found each other unpleasant to the eye. Sima Yu went to study the map that Feng Zhixing gave when they came back. The people who lived in the lost place had a connection with the divine clan. She wondered if they would acknowledge the divine clan status. It would be harder for her if they didn't acknowledge it. Also, her masters didn't report back for so many years. Although they were fine, they should be imprisoned somewhere deep without freedom. In order to save them, she had to look for their location and that was hard enough. But no matter how hard it was, she would have to do it. She had to get them out. Because of the problem Sima Lu Xian and Feng Zhixing had on hand, the journey towards Lost Place was pushed back by a few days. Sima Zhiyuan arranged for half of the cloud guards to follow her after knowing that they were going to such a dangerous place. He said it wouldn't bother her no matter how many people were going since she had a little realm. They wanted to give her a strong backing, but no matter what, the backing wouldn't be strong enough. Sima Yu was worried about the Sima clan. Now that the continent was in a mess, what would happen if the black-robed men or undead or some chi spirit jumped out and targeted the Sima clan? One wanted to send them while the other didn't allow it, so Sima Yu had no choice but to tell him about Feng Xiang and the other's existence. With them there, it would be nothing even if there were 100 enemies. And that Blood Fiend city members were also in Little Realm, although most of their strength weren't strong for inner regions, but there were still some strong ones in these 10 over thousands people. Even though Sima Zhiyuan knew about this, he still gave her 100 guards and made sure that she would bring them along. Sima Yu couldn't win his willfulness so she had no choice but to agree with it and put everyone in Little Realm. On the eve before they were about to leave, someone came. Sima Yu was surprised when she saw the people her servants brought and cried out, "Old Bai, Liang Kai, why are you guys here?" Bai Sheng and Lu Liang Kai came. Sima Yu didn't expect that she would get to see them so soon. Greeting to Deputy Valley Master. Both of them bowed in greeting to Sima Yu. She went forward and pulled them up. "Why are you guys here? How is everyone in the valley?" "They are fine, everyone misses you." Bai Sheng was happy for Sima Yu as her power increased in just a few years. "I miss everyone too." Sima Yu was in a good mood seeing familiar faces. She brought them to the hall. "How is the development in inner regions?" "We came here to develop knowing the Deputy Valley Master's clan is in the 64th state. It was hard at first, but it got stable as He clan and Sima clan helped us." Lu Liang Kai replied. Sima Yu knew that they came to 64th state for development, but the area of one state was huge and everyone was busy, so this was the first time that they met. That's good. If anything happens next time and Sima clan and he clan don't listen, we'll go straight to Xianyuan Pavilion. Sima Yu said. At the same time, she was thinking that she had to go to Xianyuan Pavilion to greet them. Bai Sheng knew Xianyuan Pavilion's status and he also knew the relationship between Sima Yu and Xianyuan Pavilion. However, he didn't expect that this connection would be useful in the inner regions. What they didn't know was that Xianyuan Pavilion was built by Feng clan. Although Jun clan was in charge, those with higher status knew the master behind Xianyuan Pavilion was Feng clan. And she was now the Feng clan's young miss, asking them for help would be as easy as asking her own family for help. Oh right, is there anything I can help you with? Sima Yu knew they were busy getting into inner regions and didn't have the leisure to visit clans. Oh, all the valley members knew you're going to look for your master, so they refined some things for you. We brought it over thinking that it's been long since we last saw Deputy Valley Master. Bai Sheng explained. How did you guys know that I'm going to rescue my master? Sima Yu asked curiously. Jiang Jun Xian told the valley members. We heard that it's very dangerous there and there are many strong people there, so Fatty Chu got the armament masters to refine many thunderbolt bullets. I think the rest don't have to be prepared by the valley. Bai Sheng said as he took out an interspatial ring and handed it to her. Sima Yu scanned through the ring. It was filled with little metal balls inside and it was stacked higher than a small mountain. Half would be enough to bomb Sima clan out of existence. Other than that, there were a pile of pills as well. They didn't send medicinal ingredients knowing that she had a spirit pagoda. There was a pile of array stones at the side. It was all for transportation arrays. She could even use it to go back to Paramount Valley with the amount of array stones they'd sent. Her lips curled up thinking that master, martial uncles and Fenger sent so many good things to her knowing that she didn't need it. At the corner of the interspatial ring was a stack of letters. Sima Yu casually took one to read and it was actually written to her by Shiman Feng. He wrote that she should come back once everything was settled as he intended to tie the knot with Kong Xiang Yi but the wedding wouldn't take place if Sima Yu hadn't come back. Sima Yu felt that it was a good day today, nothing could stop this day. Fenger is getting married. It seems like I have to finish everything quickly. I'm afraid that Xiang Yi might come here to get me. She teased. Valley Master Feng said that everything is prepared and they are just waiting for you to go back and they will be able to tie the knot. Although some of them from Kong Valley had different views, they agreed to it. Lu Yongkai said. Sima Yu pursed her lips. Why did it sound so ambiguous? What did it mean that he would only get married if she comes back? It sounded like she was the bride. But it was true that she delayed the wedding, so she was wondering when she could go back so they could get married. She took another letter after reading Shiman Feng's. It was Fatty Chu's letter this time. Fatty Chu wrote a few long-winded paragraphs, but Sima Yu summarized it into 2 points. One was that he upgraded the thunderbolt bullets again. He didn't know what kind of dangerous thing she was going to do, but she could use the thunderbolt bullets all she wanted. Secondly, they all missed her and were unsure when they could see her, they would cultivate and look for her in the inner regions. This guy. She couldn't go on. Fatty Chu, Bei Gong Tang and the others were almost like family to her. From Dongchen Kingdom to now, their friendship was not something that could be explained in a sentence. But she didn't bring them to the inner regions as they would be in a lot of trouble if they followed her and it would also allow them to cultivate properly. The distance between them was a little further, so they had to spend more time cultivating. They were not born for her sake, so it was the best decision for them to cultivate in the valley. Sima Yu also missed Sima Lai. Previously, she had asked Sima Hishan to check. The Sima clan in Yilin continent and the Sima clan in primordial lands were blood related, so they must have been evicted many years ago and built up a clan. Before she came back, she asked Sima Lai and the rest if they were willing to come back if they were blood related. Sima Lai and the other 4 brothers said they weren't willing to and it was good enough for them to stay in the valley as long as she came back to visit them from time to time. Bai Sheng and Li Liangkai didn't intend to stay in Sima clan for very long but Sima Yu said that she wanted to reply to the letters to everyone in the valley so they stayed as she needed some time. As there were some ancient stones in her spirit pagoda, she pushed back the journey for a few days and extracted some of the ancient spirit beasts in the spirit pagoda. After taming them, she fixed up the cages for these spirit beasts and looked for an interspatial ring to temporarily keep the spirit beasts in and passed it to Bai Sheng. This kind of interspatial ring had air inside. It allowed the spirit beasts to breathe but it was limited, so she asked Bai Sheng to return to Paramount Valley straight away. Both of them who were always calm were astonished when they heard that there were ancient spirit beasts in the interspatial ring. I've tamed some of the beasts for those with status. Their names are on their cage, so don't mix it up. Sima Yu reminded them. We won't. We'll set off now. Bai Sheng knew that there was a limit to this kind of interspatial ring, so he was ready to leave immediately. Sima Yu was worried and gave him 2 of the same kinds of interspatial rings. It could help extend the time if they couldn't get back in time. She was still not assured and gave them another 2, so it was a total of 4 interspatial rings. Fortunately, the Sima clan had a lot to do with beast taming so there were a lot of interspatial rings. As this was important, Bai Sheng and Lu Liangkai rushed for Paramount Valley right after they left Sima clan. They both were on the edge for the whole journey and were afraid of making even the tiniest mistake. Both of them only felt relieved after they got back to Paramount Valley. They went straight to the discussion hall when they knew Shiman Feng and Liang Wuming were discussing something. I wonder how the elder sister is doing. With regards to the development in inner regions, we'll have to hurry up. Shiman Feng said. Then we'll have to start extracting the spirit stones. Liang Wuming also wanted to extend the forces into inner regions. As water flows downhill, everyone would go up higher. Old Bai and Liang Kai are back? Old Man Devil sensed that someone was at the door and let them in. Bai Sheng and Lu Liang Kai came in straight away and bowed in greeting to Liang Wuming. Old Bai, aren't you in the inner regions? Why are you back? Shimin Feng questioned. In reply to Valley Master, we came back with the order of Deputy Valley Master, Sima Yu. Bai Sheng replied. Elder sister asked you to come back. What is the matter? Shimin Feng sounded urgent when Sima Yu was mentioned. There's actually some important matter. Bai Sheng spoke as he took out an interspatial ring and got someone to pass it to both the Valley Masters. I passed her the things that we'd prepared and she gave this in return. What is this? Old Man Devil knew his precious disciple was someone who wouldn't stop right there, but if she continued, it must be something extraordinary. Liang Wuming took a look at the interspatial ring and was shocked when he saw what was inside. Valley Master Liang? Everyone was shocked and they saw his reaction and was curious about what was inside. Liang Wuming came back to his senses when he heard them calling him and took out the items in the interspatial ring. The cages appeared in front of everyone one by one. Fortunately, the discussion hall was big enough that the cages didn't seem to be squeezing in the hall. Everyone was curious when they saw little spirit beasts lying in the cage. These spirit beasts looked odd, they hadn't seen it before. Old Bai, what are these spirit beasts? Bai Sheng went up and broke the spirit barrier outside the cages and the aura of ancient beasts flew everywhere, stupefying everyone. These are ancient spirit beasts? The news of ancient mines was spread throughout the whole continent. Up till today, everyone still didn't understand when they saw this. I didn't expect that the Deputy Valley Master would be able to get so many ancient spirit beasts. The other forces would be angry if they knew. Many people went there, but not only did they not get anything, they lost a number of people there. Yu said these ancient spirit beasts are tamed, and the cages have the names that she allocated these to. Bai Sheng said. They immediately knew Sima Yu's intention when they saw the names on the cage. Everyone in the discussion hall had one. Liang Wuming and the rest stopped the discussion and got everyone to look for their ancient spirit beasts and asked them to bring it back to establish a contract. Oh right, Yu wrote a reply to everyone's letter. Bai Sheng took out the letters and passed them down to everyone. She wrote in her letter that she would come back to visit after settling the problems there. Everyone was elated upon receiving their letters and the mood in the valley was heightened and they heard that she intended to come back to valley. Everyone in the valley was impassioned knowing that she got someone to send ancient spirit beasts and the disciples looked up to Sima Yu even more. It seemed like there was nothing she couldn't do. Fatty Chu and the rest felt their eyes redden when they received Sima Yu's replies and ancient spirit beasts. Other than the leaders in the valley, only them and a few of Sima Lai had spirit beasts, even the deputy hall leader didn't have any. Yu asked us to cultivate quickly and look for her in the inner regions. She still remembers the friendship from last time. Wei Ziqi muttered as he finished reading the letter. Of course, no matter where she is, how her identity changed or how powerful she is, Yu will be Yu and she won't change. Fatty Chu said in all laughs, I really didn't think that we'll be able to have ancient spirit beasts. Speaking of which, we've been through so much more than anyone else, it's satisfying. It would be really satisfying if you could increase your power. Oh Yang Fei poured salt on Fatty Chu's wound. But Fatty Chu was thick-skinned. It didn't affect or hurt him, instead, he said with all smiles, in regards to power, it can be slowly increased. Anyway, I've a long way to live, it's enough to get there. Bei Gong Tang extended her hand and poked his head, if you're the only one who is short of cultivation that results in having the shortest life, you can't participate in any interesting things we'll have when you're dead. That's right. Anyway, there will be many happenings when we follow Yu, but you won't have the chance to see it. I'll keep that part in my mind for you. Huh. Fatty Chu was astonished, it seemed like it mattered. If he only lived 500 years and they lived to 1,000 years, then wouldn't he miss out on the other 500 years? No, he couldn't be too far off from them. So, from that day onwards, Fatty Chu who had initially sunk into armament changed. He threw aside his love for armament and spent more time cultivating. Once in a few days, he would step out to refine weapons so that he wouldn't feel unfamiliar with them. He had his tendons and marrows cleansed by Sima Yu when he was young, and he had his talents. With that, his productivity for cultivation slowly increased. Previous chapter. As for the reaction from Paramount Valley when they received the thing, Sima Yu did not know. Because she and Sima Lu Xian were already away. However, they did not directly go to the lost place, instead they walked around a mountain. Father, are you sure the map that was given to you is here? Sima Yu and the others did not find the place Sima Lu Xian pointed to after going around a few times. Before leaving, Sima Lu Xian realized that they were going to Love Heaven Ridge, so he mentioned it. Everyone decided unanimously to stop by this place first to see if they could find the treasure. The Love Heaven Ridge was not the Love Heaven Ridge that Sima Yu and Wu Lingyu previously speculated. It was just an inconspicuous mountain range that could be seen anywhere on the continent. After a few rounds, everyone started to suspect if he remembered wrongly. Did you become dim-sighted from old age and remembered wrongly? Feng Zhixing patted Sima Lu Xian earnestly. It can't be wrong. When I traveled here with your mother, I accidentally discovered an ancient tomb. At that time, we commented that the two mountains there looked like a pair of lovers. Sima Lu Xian pointed to the two mountains in the distance. Since the place was familiar and the place should be correct, why weren't they able to find it after searching for so long? Sima Yu scanned the surroundings except for the two mountains. The memory of spirit masters was excellent. There couldn't be a mistake in their memory. That meant there was something queer going on. Father, where is the place that you found it at? Sima Luxian thought about it carefully and pointed to the direction of the two mountains. It should be in that direction. Could it be that the mountain was hidden by an illusion array? Han Miao Shuang suggested. However, Sima Yu shook her head. There is no trace of the array here. No matter how big the illusion array is, it is impossible to include a whole mountain range. I also did not detect any fluctuation of an array. Where did the mountain go then? Everyone couldn't understand why. There was no illusion array, the place was correct, there was no truncated mountain, where did the mountain go? Sima Yu also encountered this situation for the first time. She couldn't guess why for a while. It's getting late now. Let's find a place to rest first. We will continue tomorrow. They were all tired after going around the mountains for so many days. I know there is a cave ahead of us. Let's go there to rest. Sima Luxian said and led them to the two mountains. At the foot of the two mountains facing each other, there was really a cave, which once again proved he did not remember wrongly. They cleaned up the cave and made a fire. Han Miao Shuang asked Sima Yu to barbecue to pass the time and went to assist her. Jiang Junxian found a place in the cave and dropped off to sleep. Since Sima Yu started giving him treatment, he had less time to sleep. He hadn't slept for so many days since they had arrived at Love Heaven Ridge. He soon fell asleep when he relaxed himself. He didn't wake up until the next day. Sima Yu not only prepared a barbecue, but also added a hot pot. Sima Xiuqi, Huang Yingying, Sima Luxian, Feng Zhixing, Su Xiaoxiao and Han Miao Shuang joined in with relish and they all ate and drank until late. As for Jiang Junxian, sleeping was more important than eating. They didn't wake him up. After eating their fill, everyone set up beds and rested. After Sima Yu put everything away, she saw Sima Luxian alone at the entrance of the cave. The moonlight shining on him revealed his bleak emotions. Father, are you thinking of mother? She walked over and stopped beside him, imitating the way he looked up at the moon. He looked sideways. Looking at her beautiful face, he saw a person in his memory. Your mother and I stayed here for a while. Now visiting this old place again, I don't know where she is suffering. Father, mother, she is not in danger. Sima Yu wanted to say that she knew where her mother was. But she didn't know if he could bear to hear what she said. Do you know? Do you know her whereabouts? Sima Luxian was clever. He guessed the meaning of her words immediately. When I was in the immortal land, I met my cousin Deja. Sima Yu hesitated for a moment. You met the ghost clan? Sima Luxian was surprised. True, the immortal land is a place anyone from the human, devil, and ghost realm can go to. It's not surprising for him to appear. Did he tell you where your mother is? Yeah. He said that mother was suppressed somewhere in the abyss of hell. He had wanted to collect souls within the 100 ghost banner. As a result, he encountered Blackie which swallowed all the souls, in which he returned without success. Sima Yu briefly about the immortal land. I think since my cousin found out, it should be true. Abyss of hell. Sima Luxian murmured. If he broke his oath, would he be able to find Kalu there? Father, don't do stupid things. Sima Yu guessed what he was thinking from his expression and grabbed his arm. If you break your oath and go to the abyss of hell, and by then when I rescued mother, you won't be able to leave. Do you want me and mother to accompany you forever in the abyss of hell? Sima Luxian did not expect Sima Yu to strongly dispute it. I just thought about it. How can I let you two be there with me? Don't worry, I won't do that. Although he wanted to. Sima Yu let go of him and continued to persuade him. Father, I already told my cousin to continue investigating my mother's whereabouts and find the specific place where she is being suppressed at. When I have enough strength, I will go to the ghost realm to save my mother. Don't worry, I will definitely save my mother. If you do something stupid, I would have to go save you. Sima Luxian was not angry that she ignored his own ability and nodded. I will listen to you. But when you go to the ghost realm, you must bring father with you. This way, we can reunite earlier. Sima Yu finally smiled and nodded. Alright. By then, she could just put him in the spirit pagoda and let him come out when needed. Sima Luxian pondered for a moment before asking, do you know how to get to the ghost realm? They told me a way to get there, but I am not going to tell you. Sima Yu knew what he was thinking so she couldn't tell him the method. Deja told you? He heard Kuluo talked about Deja before and knew of his position in the ghost realm. No, it's another friend. Sima Yu recalled Mo. This fellow was a teacher and friend, neither good nor evil. He taught her a lot of cultivation skills back then. Now thinking about it, it was a long time ago. She didn't know when she went to the ghost realm, would she meet him. She knew she was going back to the ghost realm sooner or later. But she never expected that she would use that method to go over there so soon. Previous chapter. Sima Yu and Sima Luxian chatted in the cave for an entire night. Most of the time, Sima Luxian was the one speaking while she listened. Although Sima Luxian had been back for many years, they very rarely talked about Kuluo before this. If not because it was a night similar to this that caused him to be rather emotional, he probably would not have said some things to her. On the second day, Sima Yu let the scarlet bees out to search and see whether or not they could find the mountain that Sima Luxian talked about. As for them, they would remain in the house and wait for results. If they couldn't find which direction it was in, it would be a waste of energy even if they went out. However, her scarlet bees who had always been good at scouting for information were actually unable to showcase their usefulness this time. They didn't find a single useful piece of information even after 2 days. Sima Yu asked Sima Luxian about other places that he was familiar with, and as long as it was not the direction of the ancient tombs, the scarlet bees could find them. It seems that the problem lies in that area. Sima Yu wiped off the things on the floor. Yu, there's movement with Heaven's halberd, I won't be able to suppress it for long. Ling Long cried out from inside the spirit pagoda. Sima Yu's consciousness reached inside and she realized that Heaven's halberd had turned the house into chaos, and it was even flying around chaotically. What's up with it? Does it want to destroy the storehouse? She cried out with shock. She had never seen Heaven's halberd so restless before. The last time this guy had any movement, it was during her examination at the heavenly sect. It flew to the heavenly pavilion on its own, but it wasn't as big of a reaction as now. It was as if Sima Yu had suddenly thought of something as she grabbed Heaven's halberd and took it out. When Heaven's halberd left the spirit pagoda, it immediately flew out from her hand. It was a good thing that she had set up a barrier when she took it out, and Heaven's halberd didn't get too far. Yu, what is this? Nobody had seen Heaven's halberd before, and they didn't know why Sima Yu had taken it out. Sima Yu saw Heaven's halberd moving chaotically around inside the barrier and laughed. I'm thinking that I know where the ancient tomb is. You know? Is it because of it? It's Heaven's halberd, and is a spirit artifact that Emperor Qingdao had used before. Sima Yu explained, however, I only have the top part of it. The other part is missing. Emperor Qingdao mentioned before that there will be a resonance between the two parts of the spirit tool. So you're saying that the tomb belongs to Emperor Qingdao? That's not for certain. However, I'm guessing that the other part of Heaven's halberd should be inside the tomb. Sima Yu said. Is that reliable? Su Xiao asked. Don't you feel like no matter how it strikes, it keeps heading towards the direction that my father spoke about? Once she said this, everyone realized that this truly seemed to be the case. That's what I guessed, that the other half of Heaven's halberd should be inside the tomb. By this point, it was no longer just a guess. However, Emperor Qingdao's location is unclear, so I'm guessing that when he passed away, it probably wasn't by his side. As such, this tomb might not belong to Emperor Qingdao. However, to say that isn't too accurate either. It's possible that someone used it to find the tomb as well. Whether or not it is, we will know once we go over and take a look. Sima Yu flew towards Heaven's halberd and grabbed it after she spoke, and trapped it in her hands. Sima Yu had long since refined Heaven's halberd within the past few years, and she had already engraved her divine consciousness into Heaven's halberd. She used her divine senses to placate it, and only then did Heaven's halberd become much more quiet. However, it still wanted to fly off in that direction. Let's go along with it and take a look. Sima Yu got Han Miao Shuang to wake Jiang Junxian up, and Sima Yu used a rope to tie herself to Heaven's halberd. This way, it could function as a guiding compass to lead them forward. In the beginning, the road was one that Sima Yu and the others had taken before. It was not different at all. However, once it arrived at a cluster of mountains, Heaven's halberd did not turn, but tried to get them to walk into the mountain. When Sima Yu stopped it from going forward, it was upset and used all its strength to move forward. When it couldn't move forward, it began to thrash about. Yu, is there something wrong with this mountain? Jiang Junxian narrowed his eyes and they shone. You can see it too. Sima Yu looked at the mountain in front of them. If not for Heaven's halberd, even she wouldn't have noticed anything. Earlier on, when Heaven's halberd encountered mountains, it would avoid them, it wouldn't just charge forward. This proves that this mountain is different from others. Feng Zhixing said, but I don't sense any fluctuations from any array. This proves that it's not an illusion created by an illusory array. It really isn't an illusion. Sima Yu said, but it's not a real formation either. After speaking, she no longer trapped Heaven's halberd. Once Heaven's halberd regained its freedom, it immediately stabbed into the mountain, even taking Sima Yu in with it. Yu. Junior sister. Everyone saw that she had disappeared right in front of them and in their shock, all of them charged forward. They were completely unhindered. There was no pain like they expected, nor the resistance they guessed they would meet. It was as if they had flown in directly. Sima Yu stood in midair and Heaven's halberd no longer moved. It was quiet instead. That's right, this is the place. The tomb is right here. Sima Luxian surveyed the environment around him and ascertained that this was the place he had come with Yu Kaluo before. Just what is going on? We didn't discover any barriers or arrays, so how did this mountain appear? Huang Yingying asked. That's because this was not an illusion at all to begin with. Sima Yu said, Master, you should know this as well, right? Could it be the tomb's defense? Feng Zhixing had never thought too much about it in the beginning, but with Sima Yu's reminder, he thought about the other alternative to an illusion. What is a tomb's defense? It's when an emperor wants to protect his tomb, he uses his final bit of power to create an illusory environment. Sima Yu said. Then why didn't I encounter it back when we came? Sima Luxian asked. These things aren't around every minute and second. Feng Zhixing said, if that were the case, no amount of power would be enough to maintain it. Perhaps, when you came the last time, you happened to encounter the time it wasn't in effect. Humph, you could be considered to be lucky. It's a good thing we have Heaven's halberd this time. Without it, they probably would never have been able to find it no matter how many years passed. We need to find the entrance now. Sima Xiuqi said, do you still remember? After finding their way here, they were familiar with the place. They brought everyone to another cluster of mountains and found a mechanism. After activating it, the entire mountain split into two and a passage appeared in the middle. Sima Yu pursed her little mouth. When she saw this scene unfolding before her eyes grew as large as dishes. This was too bold of a move. Her father could even find something like this, he was too awesome. We also just happened to find it because we accidentally activated the mechanism. Sima Lu Xian explained. When Sima Yu walked to the middle of the mountain, she raised her head and looked at the skyline. She was wondering what would happen if the separated mountains were suddenly forced back together. Then, she felt as if her thoughts were a little funny. How could it be forced back together so easily? If that were the case, the tomb wouldn't be able to survive either. However, the fact that he was able to move the mountains over to become a tomb was actually very rare. It went without saying that it was a big deal. Once they had all entered, Sima Lu Xian activated the mechanism inside, and the mountains that were split apart were fused back together. What they didn't know was that, shortly after they entered, a few people arrived in the same place and came to those mountains as well as they looked at the mechanism. I didn't think that they would actually be one step ahead of us. Are we going to enter? The person spoke in a husky voice. How can we enter? Which one of us is Sima Yu's match? Another person complained. We're really unlucky to actually bump into her here. Big brother, is that Sima Yu really that powerful? There are so many of us. Do we have to be afraid of just the few of them? You know shit. You better shut up. The one she called Big Brother slapped that person on the arm and the younger brother was incredibly aggrieved. She was just a little child, what was there to be afraid of? Boss, what do we do now? What else can we do? We should hurry up and leave. The boss said angrily. But this is an emperor's tomb. Are we going to give up on it just like that? You're boss, no. Now get lost unless you want to die. The boss waved his hand impatiently at the people beside him. When he looked at them, his heart hurt even more. He had happened to obtain a map and, as he followed what was written on it, he found this place. He didn't expect that he would bump into Sima Yu even before he managed to enter. He had stayed in Fair Eastern City before, and saw the battle with the Ghost Clan with his own eyes. He had also seen how Sima Yu had performed back then. As the lightning calamities struck the Ghost Clansmen, it also struck his heart. From then on, if you asked him who was the person he was the most afraid of, he would naturally say that it was exclusively Sima Yu. He was afraid that, in any battle with her, she would strike him with lightning from the lightning calamity. This was a tomb that he had found with much difficulty, and there were definitely huge amounts of rewards to be reaped. If they were to empty it now, just thinking of it made his heart bleed. However, if you wanted him to snatch it from Sima Yu, he really didn't dare to. Hence, after thinking through it over and over again, he still took his people and left. He just waited for Sima Yu and the others to leave before seeing whether or not he could pick up the scraps. Sima Yu was inside the cemetery when he heard the news that the Scarlet Bees told her. She couldn't help but smirk. Han Miao Shuang saw her smirking and asked curiously, "Junior sister, what's so funny?" "The mice who have been trailing us are gone." Sima Yu smiled. Mice? Sima Xiuqi and the others knew that there were people following them. When they heard what Sima Yu said, they were rather puzzled. Those people know that there's a tomb inside here, but they actually left just like that? This wasn't too normal, was it? I don't know either. The person said that he saw that I had entered so he left. He looked really scared. Am I that terrifying? Sima Yu touched her face. She was rather good looking, though. Which part of her was scary? They saw her innocent expression and heaved a collective sigh. It seemed like she wasn't aware of how all the things that she'd done were rather scary to others. Sima Yu tossed this little incident to the back of her mind. They had entered the tomb, so they naturally had to give their fullest attention. Anything could happen at any time. It was a good thing that the place they entered was a place that Sima Lu Xian had come to before. If there were any hidden mechanisms, the husband and wife pair would have long since settled them. Even after walking half the way there, it was safe and uneventful. They came to an underground river where Sima Lu Xian said, "At that time, Kolo and I didn't cross over here." Sima Yu looked at that river and wondered why the people of the old days loved to cultivate beside rivers. It was a long underground river, and it split the tomb into two. Why didn't you guys go over back then? One reason was because Koluo was pregnant at the time and felt like it would be too dangerous over there. If it endangered our unborn child, we felt like it wouldn't have been worth it. The second reason was because we had already obtained a few treasures, so we had no desire to. When he mentioned Koluo, Sima Lu Xian's eyes carried traces of joy, earning a cold scoff from Feng Zhixing. He would seize the opportunity to show off their love. He really deserved a beating, humph. Huang Yingying and the others felt like he had done well, though. There are untold dangers inside. If anything had happened back then, we wouldn't have had Yu, who's been such a fantastic granddaughter. Safety is of utmost importance. Buzz 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 dash. Heaven's halberd, which had been quiet for a long time, started to act up again. It moved about in her hand as if it were upset that she had stopped moving. It seems like this guy wants to cross the river. Sima Yu looked at it rather helplessly. There was clearly only half left, so how could it still be so agitated? Looks like its other half is over that side. Feng Zhixing said, do you want to cross over? Sima Yu pursed her lips. Why did it feel like her master sounded a little peeved? She had no idea whether it was a good or bad thing for her master and father to be together. At that time, we mentioned before when we encountered Emperor Qing Dao's divine consciousness that, if it were ever possible, we would let Heaven's halberd fuse back into one full piece. Now that we know that it is across the river, how would we not look for it? Furthermore, I believe that the owner of the tomb should be over there. Since we're already here, we have to cross over to greet him. Actually, she didn't really care much for things like greeting the owner of the tomb. She just wanted to know whether or not this was Emperor Qing Dao's tomb. She had a feeling that she had some kind of connection with Emperor Qing Dao. Whether it be her obtaining Heaven's halberd back together or meeting him back at Heaven's pavilion, or meeting a hazy form of him back on the spatial ship, she felt like she had an inexplicable pull towards him. However, she couldn't explain it. The other half of Heaven's halberd had gone missing long ago, so how did it end up appearing here? Was it just a coincidence? Or could it be said that there really were others like her who had obtained half of Heaven's halberd and used it to guide them here, but ended up falling here? They watched as Sima Yu stood where she was with her expression changing over and over again. They had no idea what she was thinking. Yu, what are you worried about? Why not let your father and I head inside first to scout the area? Feng Zhixing never forgot to drag Sima Luxian in with him whenever he had the opportunity. If there was danger, they had to face it together. Sima Luxian secretly rolled his eyes at him. Sima Yu raised her head to see the interaction between the two of them and her initial worry disappeared. The both of them loved to bicker, but they had a good relationship with each other. It was only because they really didn't mind what happened in the past that they were able to exist so naturally together. She smiled, saying, Master, I was just thinking that the area over that side would be the main tomb. The coffin should be over there as well. Once we find the owner of the tomb, we will be able to ascertain whether or not this tomb belongs to Emperor Qing Dao. Sima Yu still tightly clung to Emperor Qing Dao in her heart. It could be because he was the first emperor that she had interacted with. Or perhaps because he told her that he hoped that she would be able to change the heavenly law. She was not very powerful yet and was still unable to feel the effects of the heavenly law. The effects that she had come in contact with were just her experiences with the lightning calamity as well as the lightning punishment that would come as a result of defying the natural order that the Feng clan had talked about. If he wanted her to change the heavenly law, she felt like this was something akin to a dream. However, when she thought about how Aunt Feng was an emperor that was not acknowledged by the heavenly law and how countless cultivators were locked at ranks under emperors because of the heavenly law, she felt like the heavenly law was a little unfair. Forget it. How strong was she right now? There was no point in thinking too much about it. After thinking it through, she jumped up and lightly flew across the underground river, landing on the other side of the tomb. She didn't expect how weightless it would be, and there weren't any attacks that struck her. There was absolutely nothing. She arrived on the other side of the bank safely. This was too easy, wasn't it? When they saw the confusion in Sima Yu's eyes, the three seniors that came along to the tomb with her laughed. Did you think that all tombs would be as dangerous as the one before? Sima Yu was embarrassed. Although she didn't feel like it would be as dangerous as before, she didn't think that it would be that easy either. Very quickly, the others flew over as well and the group of them continued to head inside. The other side of the tomb was different from before. It was sparse and empty, with nothing inside. Sima Luxian said that he and Yuko Luo had obtained many treasures outside the last time. Even little spirit was obtained from that side of the tomb. There haven't been any traps or pitfalls, so I keep feeling like something is not right. Sima Xiuqi frowned. It was strange that everything was normal. The others agreed with this logic as well. Hence, for the remainder of the journey, everyone was even more careful. However, all the way till the end, they didn't encounter a single bit of danger. This is truly too strange. Feng Zhixing stopped walking. He walked to the front. When he stopped, everyone stopped as well. Is this really an emperor's tomb? Su Xiaoxiao and the others were puzzled. They didn't find a single bit of treasure on the way here, and didn't encounter any danger either. How was this anything like an emperor's tomb? Even Sima Luxian was a little puzzled. At that time, he and Yuko Luo had truly obtained some treasures. Even the spirit stone that they had left for Sima Yu was not something that the average person could obtain. If this wasn't an emperor's tomb, then what was it? Sima Yu had pretty much understood after walking for such a long time. She looked at Heaven's halberd in her hand that was still rather excited, and said, whether or not it is, we will know as we continue walking forward. Unless the emperor is reborn, he can't do anything to us. It made sense just thinking about it. Sima Yu had brought so many people with her in the little realm, especially with Feng Xiang and the others, they were powerful enough to walk around the entire continent as they liked. As such, the group of them continued walking forwards. However, before they walked for long, they stopped again. I can't go any further. Feng Zhixing said, there's something blocking the front. Sima Luxian was the person right behind him. When he heard what he said, he stretched forth a hand and felt the area in front of him. He ended up encountering some form of resistance. It's not a barrier, and it's not an array either. Feng Zhixing understood barriers, and this resistance did not have a single fluctuation of spirit energy. It was definitely not either one of those things. This should be the same as the one outside. It should be a protection that the emperor left behind. Jiang Junxian guessed. Let me try. Sima Luxian said as he attacked the area in front of him. Sima Yu was worried that this would cause the tomb to collapse and her heart leapt into her throat. In the next second, the spirit energy was dispersed soundlessly right before her eyes. Looks like attacks are useless. Feng Zhixing said, it should be able to swallow up spirit energy. Let me try. Huang Yingning said, as she also attacked it. In the end, the result was the same. It's no use. Heaven's halberd moved restlessly in Sima Yu's hand and wanted to charge ahead. She furrowed her eyebrows and said solemnly, the other half of Heaven's halberd is inside there. Most people can't enter. This means that this place really is Emperor Qingdao's tomb. Nobody was able to enter, and the other half of Heaven's halberd was inside there. This proved that it could only be left beside the owner of the tomb. It's a pity that we aren't able to either. Heaven's halberd saw that Sima Yu had stopped with no intention to move, so it moved even more agitatedly. The burst of power dragged her forward. I can't go inside. She said helplessly to Heaven's halberd, not caring whether or not it could understand her. However, Heaven's halberd did not quiet down, and it kept pulling Sima Yu forward. Sima Yu was helpless because of it, and was forced a few steps forward. She felt a layer of resistance, but did not stop because of it. Instead, she was led inside. You entered? Han Miao Shuang looked at Sima Yu with surprise. How did she manage to enter? The others had various expressions. Everyone was stuck outside, but she was able to go in. Just thinking about it was strange. At that time, when Sima Yu found herself inside, she felt that it was a little inconceivable. She looked at Heaven's halberd in her hand and wondered whether or not it was because of it. Without waiting for her to figure out why, Heaven's halberd moved again and continued to lead her forward. You, don't go in. Without them around, if she was alone, what would they do if she landed up in danger? Master, relax. I'm thinking that the inside will not be dangerous. Sima Yu turned around and smiled at them, just wait for me here, I'll be back soon. After saying this, she turned around and continued to head forward, ignoring their shouts. Seriously, how could she be so rash? Too reckless. Once she's out here, I'll definitely give her a good scolding. Jiang Junxiang was not worried at all. When he saw how anxious they were, he said, there's no need to worry. Junior sister has never been impulsive. Since everyone is stuck outside, it should be fine inside there. Since she's able to enter, it shows that she has fate with this place. Sigh dash. There was no way they didn't already know what he said, but they couldn't control how worried they felt. However, it was useless to say anything now. They couldn't go in and could only watch her disappear with their eyes wide open. Sima Yu continued to walk forward. Heaven's halberd was a lot more quiet. It would merely help her choose the correct path whenever there were forks in the road. If not because she had refined it before and had brought it here herself, she would have wondered whether or not it was alive and had even lived here for a period. After walking on for half an hour, Heaven's halberd brought her to a stone gate. As she was wondering how to enter it, a gentle energy was released from the door, enveloping her and Heaven's halberd. Then, there was the sound of a bang. The stone gate swung to the side and Sima Yu saw a coffin lying inside. The stone room was big, but there were not many things inside. Or perhaps, it could be said that because there were only a few things inside there with only a stone coffin lying in the center, as well as, a skeleton and an iron stick lying beside the coffin. There was no need to talk about the iron stick. It was likely the other half of Heaven's halberd. Because this guy flew out of her hand the moment she entered and landed beside the iron stick immediately. At the same time, the stone gate slowly began to close. Sima Yu only now regained her senses and she immediately passed it. Dangerous, she was almost locked outside. She patted her chest and looked at Heaven's halberd that had already quieted down. Then, she turned around to look at the gate. Just now, that bout of energy had enveloped her, but she could also sense that she was only able to enter because of Heaven's halberd. Just now, the gate had also immediately started to close once Heaven's halberd entered. This proved the point as well. She walked over and first took the other half of Heaven's halberd. It was just like an ordinary metal rod. It was not as close to her as the Heaven's halberd, and she really couldn't tell that it was a quality item. Alright, you guys finally meet again. Once my armament skills have reached a good standard, I will help you fuse back together. You can first head back to rest. She placed Heaven's halberd into her spirit pagoda. It was no longer as noisy after finding its other half. Sima Yu shook her head. She secretly thought about how it was truly a divine artifact that an emperor had used before. Even if it wasn't like the spirit pagoda that had birthed an artifact spirit, it had some form of intelligence. When she took that iron rod, she had tripped lightly over the skeleton on the ground. All the way until the person died, the person held onto the rod tightly. She looked at the dead body on the ground then looked at the coffin. She decided to examine this person first. How did this person die? There were no lethal weapons on the ground. Looking at its skeleton, it didn't receive any injury and wasn't poisoned either. It seemed like the person had died suddenly. However, she wasn't sure either. She was not a pathologist and dared not ascertain the cause of death. However, there was one thing she was sure of. This person's death definitely had to do with the owner of this tomb. This stone room was dangerous. She kept the person's interspatial ring and wanted to use her divine senses to examine it but discovered that she was trapped outside. Even though the person had died so many years ago and had become nothing but a skeleton, the person's divine consciousness did not disappear. When she thought about it, she was shocked. The person must definitely be very powerful, but he had died without rhyme or reason. This proved that the danger here was even greater than she had thought. She warily examined around her. The empty room was obvious, and she examined it again. There was no area with a separate space, which meant that there was no mechanism. She looked around her and her eyes were filled with confusion. Then, she cast her gaze to the one and only coffin here. She did not believe that this person would have died here for no rhyme or reason. If this place had no mechanism, then the only reason would be that there was danger hidden in this coffin. If the one lying in there was the Emperor's real body, then that was not impossible. She stood where she was, a little hesitant. The person on the ground was that powerful and had still ended up dead. Was she going to be able to hold on? She had the answer without even needing to think. Obviously not. However, she was already here. If she didn't take a look at the Emperor's appearance, then she wouldn't be able to handle it. Furthermore, intuition told her that she would not be in danger. Should she take a look? She hesitated for a long while, but she was still unable to come to a decision. Finally, she looked at the skeleton on the ground and thought about how she still had things she wanted to do. If she died here, wouldn't it not have been worth it? Although she was curious, in order to preserve her little life, it was better for her to forget it. In any case, this place wouldn't run away. Once she had settled her future things and was more powerful, it wouldn't be too late for her to return. Once she had finished thinking this through, she turned around and prepared to leave. However, she suddenly heard a sigh in the room. Then, the cover of the coffin flew to the side and a ray of light flew out from the coffin, stopping her and dragging her back. It all happened too quickly. The time between hearing the sound of the coffin's movement to now took merely a breath's worth of time before she was dragged into the coffin. She hit her head fiercely on the coffin's base. A wave of energy immediately dashed into her body. Just before she fainted, she only had one thought: the coffin is empty. There's nobody inside at all. It was unknown how much time passed before she slowly opened her eyes and climbed out from the coffin only to find that the skeleton from before was gone. At this time, the gate slowly opened and a silhouette walked in from the outside. It was obvious that he was powerful, and the expression on his face was obviously one of excitement. Her first reaction was one of shock. She thought about how this person and managed to enter. Did this mean that her father and the others were in danger? Then, she quickly realized that it was wrong. She was standing right in front of him, but he didn't seem to see her at all. The most important thing was that he held that rusty rod in his hand. I found it, I found it. I finally found you. As long as I obtain your inheritance, why would I be afraid of being unable to advance to the Emperor's rank? At that time, who in the continent will be able to contest me? Ha 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 dash. The person laughed evilly, as if he could see his beautiful future ahead of him. It was only now that Sima Yu realized that she was looking at an illusion. It wasn't reality. That was wrong as well. She felt as if she should be looking at the scenario that had happened in the room before, which was probably the time the skeleton on the floor had entered the place. She subconsciously looked at the coffin. The cover was still firmly placed on it. The man laughed for a long while later before he began to observe the room. After ascertaining that there were no mechanisms, he focused on the sole coffin in here. He stretched forth a hand to touch the lid of the coffin and muttered, "Not bad." The map did say that this is the coffin where Emperor Qingdao lies in eternal rest. It said that as long as we bring in something that possesses Emperor Qingdao's aura, we will be able to enter this room. It was not fake at all. Sima Yu was stunned. Was this really Emperor Qingdao's tomb? That wasn't right. Just before she fainted, she clearly saw that there was nobody inside the coffin. This was just an empty coffin. Emperor Qingdao wasn't inside here. Although it was just like the person had said, that they would be able to enter as long as they possessed something with Emperor Qingdao's aura, this only proved that this place had something to do with Emperor Qingdao. Maybe it was one of the fake cemeteries that he had made for himself. As she was pondering this, the male had already pushed open the lid of the coffin. When he saw that there was nothing inside, he cried out with surprise. How is this possible? Irked by the empty coffin, he sent the lid of the coffin flying. He obviously used a lot of strength and the average stone would have been shattered long ago, but this lid of the stone coffin was perfectly fine. Fake tomb, fake tomb. I spent so much effort only to find a fake tomb. He grabbed the side of the coffin as he continued to tremble unceasingly. Sima Yu could see that he was enraged and disappointed. At this moment, there was suddenly movement from the coffin. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Sima Yu saw the rays of light shining out from inside the coffin, and it swept her in like it did to her before. However, this time, the difference was that she had been dragged into the coffin while he was left standing there. Inheritance. Inheritance. The guy's disappointment and rage from before turned into joy. When Sima Yu heard what he said, she pursed her lips. His desire for the inheritance really drove him mad. How could that ray of light have been the inheritance? She felt like the danger was real. However, that person did not feel the same way. He closed his eyes, wanting to accept the inheritance. However, shortly after, Sima Yu saw his eyebrows furrow tightly together and his body started to sway. It was only because he was holding onto the coffin that he didn't collapse entirely. Ah, dash. Before Sima Yu could understand what was going on, various streaks of light shot out from inside the man's body. Although he did not bleed, it gave off a very strange feeling. A few breaths of time later, the person fell on the ground. In his hand, he continued to hold the other half of Heaven's halberd. Shortly after he collapsed on the ground, a ray of light flew out from inside his body, surrounded the cover of the coffin and flew back over. Boom dash. The coffin lid landed firmly on the coffin and the entire room fell into silence. If not because of the dead body lying on the ground, it would have seemed like nothing happened. There was no blood nor injury. A person who was close to the monarch rank died soundlessly just like that. As if she had suddenly thought of something, she couldn't help but curse. She had clearly felt that ray of light envelope her earlier on. Her body couldn't have become like that, right? If that were really the case, there was no use no matter how much she regretted it. He dash. There was a sudden burst of laughter and the voice was rather familiar, but it made Sima Yu heighten her divine senses. Who's there? She looked warily all around her. You asked who I am? The other party didn't appear. Sima Yu thought about it as her eyes widened. Emperor Qingdao? The scene in front of her eyes changed. She was in a stone room earlier, but she was now in a vast land of ice. The black silhouette was exceptionally attention-grabbing against the snow. Although she had only seen him twice, Sima Yu could recognize him at a glance. This person was Emperor Qingdao. She walked over and stopped when they were around 10 meters apart. When the person turned around, she saw that he really was Emperor Qingdao, whom she had seen twice before. Emperor, it really is you. She was still a little puzzled. How could he be here? Was he still alive? Do you think that I could live for such a long time? Emperor Qingdao guessed her thoughts and laughed. Sima Yu laughed sheepishly. Isn't it said that an emperor's lifespan is limitless? An emperor is not omnipotent after all. It was as if he thought of something as his tone sounded downcast. Sima Yu knew that emperors were not omnipotent as well. Otherwise, why would Feng Ruyen have been sick for such a long time, and almost wither away like a flower? Emperor, is this a trace of your divine consciousness? Emperor Qingdao stopped dwelling on his thoughts as he looked at Sima Yu and asked, where did you see me before? How did you obtain Heaven's halberd? Where did she see him before? Did he not remember? I bought Heaven's halberd at an auction before. As for when met the first time was at Heaven's pavilion. I also met a trace of your divine consciousness there. The second time we met, I was clearly meditating when I saw your silhouette. It should have been an illusion. Sima Yu replied. Since you have gone to Heaven's pavilion, this proves that you have talent. Emperor Qingdao said lightly. He was obviously praising her, but Sima Yu found it strange. Do you not know that we have met before? Emperor Qingdao shook his head. The one you met before was just a trace of my divine consciousness. It has already left my body, so I cannot sense it. It was no wonder he looked at her as if she were a stranger. Then you are now. This is just a remnant of my soul. I left it behind in my tomb. Emperor Qingdao said sadly, I should say that I am nothing now. So you're saying that this tomb is really yours? Sima Yu asked with shock. It is and it isn't. Emperor Qingdao saw her confused expression and laughed, explaining, just take it as a crafty rabbit possessing 3 burrows. Sima Yu pursed her lips. What did this mean? Who would have so much time on their hands that they would create so many tombs for themselves? She slapped her forehead as she looked at Emperor Qingdao and asked, did I die as well? You didn't. This is just an illusion that I have created. How could that be? I saw that the person died in a few seconds after he was enveloped in that ray of light. He's someone who had almost reached the strength of an emperor, while I'm just a tiny little monarch rank. If he couldn't handle it, how could I have? Sima Yu felt as if she must have died. You are different from him. Emperor Qingdao said, you have something that he didn't. I have something he didn't? What is it? On your body, you have an aura that I left behind. Emperor Qingdao explained, if not, the inheritance that I left behind would be fatal poison for someone like him. Sima Yu recalled the time she was at Heaven's pavilion. That version of Emperor Qingdao had disappeared, then turned into a breath of aura as it entered her body. Did that save her life? Wait, inheritance? There was really an inheritance? You're saying that the ray of light was the inheritance? Indeed. Sima Yu pursed her lips. When she heard that male excitedly cry out for the inheritance earlier on, she had even said that he was an idiot for believing it to be the inheritance. She didn't expect that that would actually really be the inheritance. Didn't that mean that she was the idiot? There was no way she would admit to being an idiot. That was why she decided to discard her earlier notion, changed the topic and asked, what inheritance is this inheritance of yours? Why does one need your aura in order not to die upon receiving it? What if nobody like that ever came? Wouldn't that mean that nobody would ever receive your inheritance? Even if the person who came in didn't have his aura, he shouldn't have killed the man. At the very least, he could let him return empty-handed. I've never had disciples nor family. My inheritance should naturally be someone who has affinity with me. Those people came to my tomb and disturbed my rest. It is a matter of course that I take their lives. Emperor Qingdao didn't feel like what he did was wrong. Or it should be said that, when he laid down this as the condition, he didn't feel like he did anything wrong. Sima Yu felt like she couldn't manage a person who had already been dead for more than tens of thousands of years. The fact that he had left such a condition behind was beneficial after all. If not for this condition, she would not have obtained this so easily. The inheritance that I have left here has to do with comprehension. As long as you can grasp onto this, your comprehension of heavenly law will be much quicker. Emperor Qingdao seemed to have sensed something as his silhouette flashed and he dashed in front of her. Sima Yu was frightened by the magnified face and stepped backwards. What do you want to do? Emperor Qingdao curiously peered at her. I really didn't expect for you to comprehend a spirit realm at this level. You know, during my time, it's rare for people to comprehend a spirit realm at monarch rank. Rare? There are still others? Sima Yu asked. They have talent. Emperor Qingdao was indifferent. He wasn't envious because he was one of them. No one on this continent can do this anymore. Cultivation has become much harder than before. Sima Yu was emotional. Currently people's cultivation cannot really be compared with others. There were very few people back then. Emperor Qingdao said. At that time, I sensed that the heavens changed. Therefore, if you want to cultivate, you must overthrow the heavens. Recalling when she was struck by thunder the last time she said to go against the heavens, she subconsciously looked at the top of his head. Heh, don't worry, this is just my illusion. Heaven's ears won't reach here and know what we are saying here. What you're thinking won't happen. Emperor Qingdao knew what she was thinking and chuckled. Cough, Sima Yu was embarrassed to be seen through. She was thinking what he would like when being struck. Back then you were already an emperor, why did you want to go against the heavens? Although I can sense it, I don't have the ability. Only you can do it. Emperor Qingdao looked at Sima Yu with a complicated gaze. Sima Yu couldn't read his emotions. Emperor, are you kidding? You can't do it when you're an emperor. How can a little monarch be capable? Sima Yu felt he was thinking too much. I couldn't do it because I am not that person. Although your strength is not high now, you are the fated person. Sima Yu pursed her lips. She never believed in the claims of the fated person. For instance, she had to pretend to be a male because of the claims from Sage Pavilion. She felt that they were bullshit. Could she alone destroy Sage Pavilion? Who would believe that? Emperor Qingdao could tell she didn't believe it, and he didn't argue for it. Some things wouldn't be accepted until it happened. Believe it or not, I will try my best to help you. He continued. I also left you some things in the other tombs. I will give you the map for you to find them. After all, Sima Yu felt a map appear in her mind. She closed her eyes subconsciously, and when she opened them again, Emperor Qingdao was gone. The vast snowfield was gone and she returned to the stone room. Her head hurt a bit. She rubbed it and found she was no longer in the illusion. She felt limp as she grabbed the edge of the sarcophagus with both hands before sitting up. White bones lay quietly on the ground. The lid of the sarcophagus fell on the other side. The whole stone room was quiet. Everything seemed like a dream. If it weren't the map that appeared in her mind, she would really think so. In fact, she still had many questions to ask him, like why he wanted to help her. Even if the heavens was to change, he wouldn't be able to benefit from it. More so, if he gave everything to her, wouldn't he be afraid if she slacked off? Unfortunately, he could no longer answer himself. After a long sigh, she began to examine herself and found that the aura of Emperor Qingdao that she kept on herself had become stronger. Recalling how he turned into qi and entered her body, did his soul as well? She sat in the coffin for a while, her body gradually recovered and she crawled out of the coffin. She looked at the white bones on the ground. She pondered for a while. She took it to the spirit pagoda and asked for Little Spirit to find a place to bury it. To be honest, he really died an aggrieved death. After her body fully recovered, she came before the stone door and injected Emperor Qingdao's qi into the gate and the stone gate slid open as before. Yu, are you alright? As soon as she exited, she saw several people guarding the door. Grandfather, grandmother, father, why are you here? We just discovered that the power blocking us disappeared, so we followed the aura you left behind. Yu, are you alright? Huang Yingying checked her left and right several times, as if afraid that she was injured. Sima Yu guessed the reason why the power disappeared was because that soul disappeared, so everything left here by Emperor Qingdao also disappeared. Yu, what are you thinking about? Huang Yingying pulled her. She was still in a daze. Sima Yu saw their worried looks and smiled. I'm fine, and I obtained an inheritance from Emperor Qingdao. So this is really the tomb of Emperor Qingdao? No, this is a fake mausoleum left by him. He left a trace of his soul to guard the place. Then, she explained her experience here again. As she thought, everyone frowned in response. They were not as happy when they learned she was the fated person but more worried instead. The so-called fated person has very good luck and will go through a lot of hardships. Your luck is indeed better than ordinary people. Correspondingly, the hardships will be more and greater later, the more serious one will endanger your life. Grandfather, don't worry. Emperor Qingdao is just an emperor, not a prophet. He said I'm the fated person, but am I? I am just a little girl. I just want my family to be safe. I don't have high aspirations to save all sentient beings. Sima Yu didn't believe it. Although she didn't have high aspirations, it was not that she didn't believe it, but it was difficult to. If he wanted her to use her life to go against the heavens, then she was sorry. She hadn't realized the need to. This way of thinking is good. Huang Yingying patted her hand. It doesn't matter what others do, you just do your own thing. So don't worry about me. Sima Yu took Huang Yingying's hand. There is nothing here, we can leave. The greatest benefit had been obtained by her. She had found the other half of Heaven's halberd. This trip was quite rewarding. They walked back on the same path. Because they didn't turn around, they quickly returned above the ground. After so many days of delay, let's go to the Lost Land. They spent half a month underground. She really missed the blue skies and white clouds. Yu, let's go to another place first before the Lost Lands. To where? Sima Lu Xian smiled. Our benefactor is nearby. Shouldn't we pay a visit? Their benefactor? Sima Yu suddenly remembered who he was referring to. Who else besides Yin Lin who rescued her while she was an infant? The divinator sect is nearby? She really didn't know where the divinator sect was. It's not too close. It will take a few days. Sima Lu Xian said. A few days' journey in this vast continent wasn't too far. This place is so close to divinator sect. Why don't they know that there is an emperor tomb here? Sima Yu asked curiously. You are going to ask him about this. Sima Lu Xian shrugged. He also thought the divinator sect must have known that the tomb of an emperor rank was here, but why didn't they go investigate it? They would have to ask them to know. If this is the case, let's go to divinator sect. I miss Little Helper. He helped me save my father. Sima Yu wondered how Little Help was doing now. Divinator sect? Then can we go find Master Yin Lin, let him divinate for us if we can find Master at the lost place. If he is willing to help, we can avoid many detours. Jiang Junxian also said the trip was feasible. Therefore, Sima Yu summoned Halcyon and they rushed to divination sect overnight. On an inconspicuous mountain, small courtyards were located at the top. In the tallest courtyard, Ying Ling was talking with a sect member. Little Helper. Yin Lin called out softly. Little Helper came in from outside and bowed. Master. An esteemed guest is here. Go down the mountain to meet them. Yin Lin ordered. Yes. Little Helper accepted and left. He ran down the mountain with excitement. Since it was an esteemed guest, it wasn't in his position to greet them. But Master asked him to come, it meant that it was related to him. Thinking about it, he was curious who it was. Sure enough, when he arrived at the bottom of the mountain, he saw a familiar figure on Halcyon, the person he missed. Sima Yu and the others got off of Halcyon. Little Helper came up to greet them with smiles. Sister Yu. Master said there were esteemed guests, they really is. Sima Yu examined Little Helper. 10 years had passed, yet he looked the same, like the past 10 years didn't affect him. It seems that Master Yin Lin had already foresaw our arrival. Sima Yu chuckled. In this case, let us visit him. I'm sure if it's convenient now. When she said that, everyone looked over. It was already very good to enter the sect, let alone meet Yin Lin in person. Master is discussing something with sect members. But if we walked over, they should be finished by then. Little Helper beckoned them and led them on the mountain. The guard didn't stop them. Little Helper led them directly in. Sima Yu looked up from the mountain. The top of the mountain was filled with clouds and mist. The mountain was shaded with verdant green and water gurgling atop. The crisp calls of birds echoed from the mountain streams from time to time. The environment was harmonious. The path circled up. Little Helper introduced the place, when it was built, the rare fishes in the lake, and so on. It could be seen that he was very excited. The disciples passing by were also surprised by Little Helper. Their little junior brother usually appeared calm. Who were these people that could make him so happy? Little Helper ignored their surprised eyes and led them up the stairs to the highest courtyard. This is the master's courtyard. Those people haven't left yet, so their discussion hasn't finished. Let's wait here. Little Helper took them to the square outside the courtyard. Sima Yu looked at the surrounding scenery. Except for these courtyards, there weren't any artificial buildings on the other hills. This divination sect was really something. Han Miao Shuang felt the same way and asked Little Helper. Your divination sect holds an unparalleled position on the continent, why don't you build some magnificent buildings? Little Helper explained with a smile. Master said we have received mercy from the heavens, so we shouldn't bother with external material enjoyment. Whether it is the hall or hut, they are all external things. Don't bother about them. Instead of thinking about it, we should improve ourselves, so we can cherish the gift from the heavens. But you don't have to make yourselves like some ascetic monks. Han Miao Shuang felt their life was too difficult. Master said that this will allow us to better maintain ourselves. Little Helper answered. Sima Yu nodded. Divinators predict the future, could know things that other people didn't know, could figure out the vicissitudes of the world, glory and prosperity. If they can't keep their original selves and get lost in the sea of material desires, the things that they do might endanger others and change the world. The lifespan of the divinators was shorter than ordinary spirit masters. What use was there to ask for glory and wealth? At this time, several people walked out. Little Helper saluted them and sent them away. Esteemed guests are here. Be magnanimous of faults. Come in. Yin Lin's voice transmitted through. Little Helper took them in. Sima Yu observed there were no tables and chairs in the house, only futons. It was really like a temple. Everyone please don't look down on it. Yin Lin waved at them, motioning them to sit on the futon. Sima Yu found something was wrong as soon as she sat down. The futon was a bit hard, almost like sitting on a rock, but it contained heat. I just gave them a lecture, so I use warm jade as a resource. There are tables and chairs in other places. Yin Lin explained. This warm jade is a rarity. I didn't expect to be sitting on a futon. Just when I thought your life was hard, you're low-key luxurious. Sima Yu chuckled. Haha, Yin Lin chuckled lightly and didn't take it to heart. They were a sect, and it was impossible to not have anything good. The divination sect did not advocate a luxurious life, but there were some aspects of it. I haven't congratulated you yet. Was the harvest at the tomb good? I just knew it. I was pretty sure you knew about the tomb. Sima Yu was not surprised. The trip was not bad. I got some things but left me some doubts. I want to ask you to help me resolve them. The doubts will eventually be resolved. The reason why you are still confused means that the day when you understand the truth hasn't arrived yet. Yin Lin smiled. Sima Yu cured her lips. How different is this from the secrets of nature that cannot be revealed? Since you knew the tomb of an emperor was here, why didn't you go check it out? Previous chapter.